Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I tried my best to be a kitty. Um, I would give it like a B minus. I'm not much of an arts and crafters, but I would say a solid B minus. What? Come on. I mean, I'm better
I,
than Blue Panda. You don't even have an outfit on. Where's your kitty, huh? You don't have a
well,
kitty.
okay. So I have some unfortunate news for you guys. Here in New Zealand, Halloween isn't really that much of a thing. It's also, by the time you guys come around to Halloween, it's already November. So there's this whole timing issue, and that plus, I just didn't have anything prepped. It was kind of last minute. You guys are great at this whole scheduling thing. I mean, I'm a day in the future, and I still had no idea it was going to happen.
Well, at the very least, we have the kitty to my left right now. At least they're decorated out. You could say they're spinning in circles. You could say that they own Team Envy as well. But you know what? We have two amazing teams here tonight outside of being a kitty and outside of being Post Malone. We have Team Synthetic versus Lycus Empire. Of course, two very popular teams inside this league and outside the T3 realms themselves, going just bonkers up against each other. But they have to ban maps first, and already we see that clubhouse and theme park gone. My boy Connor, the love of my life, and other casts, let us know what's going to happen with the rest of these vetoes.
You know, I'm already really excited that Clubhouse is gone because that's part of the unholy trinity that I love to say. Cafe, Club, Villa, you're guaranteed to see two of them in any best of two, best of three series. And one of them is already gone. It's gone. It's great. But as the rest of the bans will roll across our screen, hopefully quite soon, I'm going to predict that most likely Consulate will not be played because nobody here at SCS likes Consulate. They don't like going all the way down to the Ivory Coast for the French embassy because that's probably, I think the words of Drew Spark, who's one of my friends, he's the United analyst, he said it's the only map in the game that the attackers can win without ever entering the building. You can win every site from never entering the building, and that is just leaves a poor taste in a lot of people's mouths. But
Well, just like the real Post Malone, there's only so much I can take of you right now. Blue Panda, tell us about the rest of them. No, but for real, you did a good job. But Blue Panda, take it away. Finish it out from there.
I mean, look, there's a number of competitive maps in the pool. There's still the possibility we do the Cafe, a part of that unholy trinity. Unfortunately, Villa there as well. Oregon is still left in the pool, which I mean, I'm not that upset about. Coastline, there's definitely plenty of options available to these guys. I wouldn't be that upset if I saw a Coastline pick. I'm a big fan of the map. Yes, it's less strat heavy, it's more frag heavy, but I mean, it makes dynamic plays, and the highlight reel tends to, bump up just that little bit extra. Villa, another option. I mean, there's just so many. The interesting thing, though, Lycus coming into this, we had a bit of a talk about the strategy behind the scenes. It's going to be interesting to see if Owly is put on a pick that is less his choice and more just a last-minute decision. We've seen his Maverick play. It's not good. Hopefully they've been a little bit more decisive this time around. They're definitely taking their time though. But I mean, given the standings of the teams, given the possibilities what could happen in this best of two series, I'm expecting at least one overtime. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we see two.
Now, Connor, you were shaking your head no about the possibility of a Coastline. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
no, I was saying like I wouldn't complain by any
Oh.
stretch of the imagination if there's Coastline. Me and you have
Gonna
cast
say.
Coastline a few times together. It's a very fun map, and I agree with every single point that Blue Panda said. That it's very frag heavy, it's very exciting. You don't necessarily need hard support. You can see more fun picks like a Dokkaebi, a Lion. Most of the map is just hinging upon establishing a good roam on the defense and having a good roam clear on the attacking side. And that's just always where you're going to see those high octane in your face gunfights that are really a pleasure to watch as well as cast. And I would have to say Coastline isn't very popular in the map pool. A lot of teams aren't as necessarily comfort on it. So it would almost be like the stars are aligning for that to come out as me and Blue Panda's first cast together. I'm all for it.
Yeah, what a hell of a debut, Coastline. Hey, look, as much as I have never been to Ibiza,
Oregon's gone.
I really want to go.
Yeah,
Oregon's
Oregon is gone. So already we see two of the three usual suspects in the T3 maps completely gone away. That's only going to leave to be the more somewhat uncommon maps, like you said, the Coastline, of course. But oh man, they're actually banning now. So I'm curious to see what are those final maps going to be? Because we've eliminated three, but Connor, we might very well see Coastline. But is it going to be the decider?
If we get Coastline and Consulate, I feel like I would be obligated to jump up and like do a little happy dance because those are the two most exciting maps. The only two maps in the pool that I would definitively say are overall attacker sided, and that would be very fun to see because there's quite a few good players on both sides of these rosters. If we want to transition over to those, we can fill some of the empty time coming
Yes,
through.
let's look at the teams right now. Let's see all the players on both. Oh,
Oh,
no,
Villa's
never
gone.
No,
Oh,
come back, come back. No. That's
Okay,
okay.
we got synthetic. We've got
Oh,
synthetic.
no, we're back. Hello. Welcome back, everybody. We have Villa going to be eliminated as well. That's only going to leave 3 maps left. This is a best of 2, not a Cafe, Coast, and Consulate.
Hashtag ban Cafe. Let's go. I
Please.
believe in the boys.
I'm gonna
They've gotta
send
do
all
it.
my brainwaves over to Hazmat because he was a member of the OG Dapper Lizards roster. Maybe he can still hear me in the back of his head telling him to.
Look, maybe if you send him a signed album as well, it might help.
Maybe
I
I'll
don't
send him a
know.
sign.
You already know the sign's going to be, well, the 2 casters don't want Cafe, so Cafe's going to be the second map. I'm betting on it being Coastline Cafe.
Well,
I think
yeah,
I agree with you.
There's 3 possibilities here, whichever's going to be banned first. Obviously, I still think, unfortunately, that we're probably not going to see the Coastline as teams very much try and avoid it where they can. Consulate, at least you can straddle a little bit more. You can prep yourself coming into it. Same with Cafe. And no, it's going to be Consulate. We're going to Coastline. Yes! Sorry.
What can I say? I am the best predictor in SCS. It doesn't matter what role I'm in. You guys suck at predictions. But now let's finally look at that roster. We know what all of them are going to be now. We know the maps. It's going to be Cafe and Coastline. We just don't know which one's going to be which. But now is a great time to look and see what these rosters are going to be. Who's going to be playing on these 2 maps?
Well, first up would be Synthetic, I'm guessing.
Yes,
Yeah,
it would be
we
Synthetic.
got a little sneak peek of what synthetic
We
is bringing
did.
to the table. As soon as we transition over, we can fully unpack the box that, like a present on Christmas, we just kind of ripped a little bit of the wrapping paper off, and we're able to get a tiny little smidgen of information towards it. I know Hazmat's on the roster, a very young guy with some Twitter clout, and he's an interesting one to say the least.
To be fair, this would be Hanukkah because we have 7 maps.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
Keg.
Oh, and there we go. The first one's going to be Coastline going down. So we're going to see TDM coming out first, and then we're going to have the more traditional map second. What did I say about predicting?
That you're a god amongst men.
It's a Hanukkah tradition, I guess. But now that we know which maps are going to be which, now would be a great time to see what Team Synthetic can bring to the roster. We'd seen them last week, and they did all right, but even then, they're not in the most favorable position right now, and we got to see what they can bring to the table here today.
Hopefully,
At some point.
Yeah, we'll throw it over the player cards in a moment. We're just waiting on production to catch up with what we've got going on.
We're just going too fast.
Yeah, we're going at a million miles per hour.
It's all the
okay.
Sharpie fumes. It's all the Sharpie fumes right now.
This is the unfortunate crossover in a North American league and a New Zealand-based caster. I am X number of hours ahead of you guys, and unfortunately the time streams have been crossed, and there's just this fatal error that's going on behind the scenes.
And you still suck at predicting.
100%. Like, I just because it's already happened for me doesn't mean I was paying attention to what happened when it was going on. Chances are I was playing some Rainbow Six. I do that from time to time, so I am unfortunately prone to distraction.
Do you guys like my whiskers?
I mean, I do like your whiskers, but I guess we could talk about how this actually is. Like, I touched on it briefly that the stars are aligning for me and Blue to cast, but Keg, you were on that podcast as well, weren't you? Where I met Blue Panda and we brought him to NA, and it's everything is coming together. The final Infinity Stone has been placed inside the gauntlet. We grabbed the Blue Panda from the Kiwi nation of New Zealand, and now we are here at SCS, and it makes my heart happy. It's definitely going to be a really fun experience coming out, and I hope everybody in chat is just as excited as we are here, as there's not another map for Synthetic to choose. I think they're just mulling over, do we want to pick Cafe or do we want to pick Dostoevsky? Maybe we should go for Cafe Dostoevsky. I don't know, but they're just kind of dragging their feet just a little bit to get that hard confirmation. Then after that, we should be able to transition over, talk about the players, talk about their roles, a little bit of stats action thrown in the mix as well.
Absolutely. Well, we will be having a small delay, it seems, for a little bit. Seems like one of the teams might need a little bit of extra time to prepare for Coastline, but that's perfectly fine. I want to talk about Halloween, personally, because I didn't know we were supposed to dress up for this cast. I saw Post Malone over here. Oh, and then we have Blue Panda dressing up as
There's
Blue
nothing.
Panda. It's a good cosplay. It's a good cosplay. But overall, it's a fun time of year. And with Sugar Fright out right now, it's the perfect game mode to play for the next 20 minutes before we get started.
Do we want to switch to a caster's cam playing the sugar?
I have not played Sugar Fright.
Look,
I have
okay.
I've had enough
Insanely
cavities
fun.
in my life. I don't need to get any more. But the Muppets are cool. Oh, hi,
There we go. Yeah,
Synthetic.
okay, we got there in the end.
Hello. All right, guys. So, Panda, break me down these characters. We've seen them before. We'll see them again. What are they going to bring to the table compared to last time?
Look, this is a team that I unfortunately already in the season I have missed out on the opportunity to cast. They're sitting unfortunately second to last on the table. They've had some unfortunate results to kick things off, going against Redux Rising and then having to go down the way they did, 7-3, 7-4. So they've taken a bit of a beating. Now going up against Lycus. This is a team that they're sitting middle of the pack, not necessarily because they aren't doing particularly well. They're still at 2-0, which is, you know, them and a lot of other teams are currently sitting in this position. This is going to be a real test for them. If they can dig deep, if they can find their feet, in this match and actually take away some rounds here from Lycus, it would look very good for them. I'm not anticipating them to take a map away, but if they can get to overtime, still get themselves a point on the board, that's going to probably be the best result for them at the end of the day, I think.
Now, Connor, you weren't here last week to see Hazmat get a 50% headshot rating right down the middle. Of course, Salt isn't too far behind with a huge 88, and that's going to be a pretty nice percentage. But do you think Synthetic has what it takes today to really bring it home?
You know, Synthetic are a newer team. They've had some pieces flying in, trying desperately and grasping at straws to fill the puzzle that has been this roster. They still are new. They're a bunch of young players, and they're going up against Lycus Empire, which is a roster
Ooh.
that has been created for the sole purpose of getting to CL. And you have players such as Defiance. You've got Braction. Many of you may know him from his content creation. I know him from playing Among Us, where one time he completely outbrained me, and I felt like I got put in a blender. But then you've got Hourly as well, a really strong support player, Call and Psychosis. They all like just looking at their ratings, they're at the positive round differential. Sure, the stats may be kind of skewed because we don't have enough sample size in order to properly say, hey, you've got X, Y, and Z. They're going to be firmly ranked in. They had a good first round, but they need to continue taking the steps further in because this is a league after all. Every single week matters, and any team can beat any team on any given day. So I don't want to count out Synthetic by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's sort of a unanimous thought process among most of the casters, most of the analysts, as well as most of the fans here at SCS, that this is arguably the first or second best team here, rivaled only to Wichita Wolves. But you know, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Stranger things happen all the time. And with Hourly coming onto the roster, I mean, I think he's outbrained me in Among Us a few times too, but I really see if he's able to outbrain Synthetic today. That's going to be the really big question. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen. A team built for Challenger League needs to be able to prove that they can at least get through the qualifiers. And while SCS isn't quite the qualifiers for CL, it will be a great point of entry to see if they're capable of doing it. Now, Panda, we've heard all this information about them. Do you think Lycus Empire has what it takes to bring it to CL?
Look, I hate to be that guy, but
Oh, no.
I will be perfectly honest. I've killed Hourly on 200 ping before, so there's potential there that there could be some upset. But no, in all honesty, Lycus Empire, they're, I suppose, the closest thing that we're going to see in SCS to a super squad coming into this. They're 100%. They were manufactured to be, you know, the eradicator of all their opponents. They're basically like the Terminator coming into us. The real question is, what Terminator are they? Are they going to be the one that is going to blow out the competition? The way they're looking with the stars that they have on their roster, they're very much looking like a team that 100% could make Challenger League. Unfortunately, the biggest problem with a roster like this is having superstars is great, but you need superstars that are willing and capable of working together. So the first couple of weeks, yes, they've won. It has gone to overtime in a couple. They've been very, very tested so far. It's about how going into the next couple of weeks, they start to gel together. They start to play as a unit, and things start to become more fluid and mesh together. And that's definitely what I'm looking at, team cohesion, playing off each other, making those clear, decisive calls that they need to win. And I mean, we saw in their opening performance, Owly got stuck on Maverick on Clubhouse, and apparently it's something that he'd never done before, which was incredibly evident in the way he tried to open CCTV wall. It looked like the breaching torch was having a stroke. So I think they've gone over this. I think going into this week, they're going to be bringing it a little bit more serious. They're going to be a bit more drilled, a bit more prepped. So I think we could start to see the Lycus Empire that they're approaching their final form, is basically what I'm saying.
I mean, you got to keep in mind too, if Lycus can win this set, they'll be tied with their #1 slot in the entire standings right now for Season 4, and that's in Control Nation. Now, CDAPS, we've been going back and forth with both of you guys so far about how good Lycus Empire is, but what can Synthetic bring to the table to match Lycus Empire's energy in this set?
I think it's going to come down to the maps have already favored a frag-heavy playstyle because Coastline's on the board, and that can really be where potentially Synthetic just kind of shows out. They take everything they have, they put it on the table, and they just look the Lycus Empire roster in the eyes and try not to back down. I know a lot of the players on Synthetic, they're newer to the scene, haven't been as experienced. When you take a map like Coastline, it's almost like leveling the playing field because you're mainly going to be looking upon pure, raw, uncut gun skill. And at the end of the day, Coastline, you can have the best strats in the world. You can have the Tempera strat where you just open up the entire map and have angles from Timbuktu all the way to the east coast of the United States. But what it comes down to is you have to win your one-on-one engagements. And if Lycus Empire doesn't come out swinging, it might be a little bit of a David versus Goliath moment. You can have some players on Synthetic just pop off a heater, start fragging out, and that can be the slingshot delivering the rock right to the chin of the giant.
See, I don't really know much about David and Goliath, but I know the story of Perseus, I think, in Medusa, and hopefully that Iron Shield will be in the way to make sure that, we don't have any freezing going on. But again, like we did mention before, there will be a small delay, and that's perfectly fine. It happens, but this only gives Synthetic, I would say, more time to really prepare themselves. Now, Panda, we gave CDAPS an opportunity to talk about what Synthetic can do. What's your perspective on Synthetic bringing it to the top?
Look, I think if anything is going to help them, this new game mode that is currently available, the Sugar Fright, it's an entirely frag based. It's based off Kill Secure from Call of Duty, so it favors the frag heavy style of play, and that's exactly what we're going to be going into in Coastline. It's largely about the frags. There's really only so much prep work you can do in terms of the strat side of things that it's going to be down to the gunning 100%, and I'm interested to see where the operator bans are going to be going once we do actually get into the map. There's certain operators which can turn the tide between attacker favored and defender favored. On the whole, you'd have to argue it is just that little bit more attacker sided. So I mean, this could get very, very interesting very, very quickly, and it's going to be more a case of who can establish that lead early, start to strings together some rounds as to who's going to carry the momentum on going into the second half of the map.
Now, what I see really concerning on this screen is that Synthetic only has one plant so far, and that's going to be our boy Crafty able to find one, but nobody else has any others on the board. That's a whopping 0. Now, Connor, that's not very good, but do you think maybe it'll be more of a frag-heavy team going in the Coastline where that stack can stay the same without any worries?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind on Coastline was, when was the last time you were in a post plant besides just being down a huge man count? Like, in Coastline, the plant, getting down the diffuser, is kind of like your second thought. It's kind of like, you get your frags, and then it's a 3v1, you're like, oh, yeah, let's just go ahead and plant the bomb to make him come out of his shell, make him get out of that corner he's holding on, and put him under pressure on the attacking side. Sort of the only strategy that directly hinges upon the plant would be if you have a Monty take turret service on kitchen, but those are rare, few and far between, especially with the major nerf to shields that came out recently. So that might not necessarily be the biggest hindrance onto the side of Synthetic, especially like we said, going onto a map like Coastline. However, I did want to sort of shift gears and go all the way over to Kafe, because Coastline could be setting a really dangerous precedent. we talked briefly upon how the big three, the Cafe, Villa, and Club, they're really played out maps because they're kind of very similar. They're typically a little bit more towards the defender sided, more recently shifting almost even, not quite there yet. But Cafe, out of all three of those maps, in my mind, has the most potential to devolve from structure to just absolute frag fest out of those three. And if all these players get in the mindset of swing or be swung, take your gunfights, be aggressive, we could actually be in for quite a fun Cafe, as that is a guaranteed map we will see. So I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts once we get the Cafe too, but here comes my favorite part. Talk about construction or deconstruction. We see all of your predictions. Already Blue Panda's predictions are wrong, but we don't see CDAPS, we don't see you on here either, so we're gonna have to talk about Pon's predictions pretty much, and he's gonna be on the analyst desk, so we're gonna put him at the hot seat really quick and say that he did get In Control correct. He did get, I think that's VSN correct as well.
Visionary,
And
yes.
everybody, Visionary, yes, and everyone else is saying Lycus Empire. I don't see a single synthetic on the board.
Look, I'm a little upset here, Keg. At the moment, I have one prediction wrong. So does Chief, and that was our prediction last week.
Oh,
which
you're bringing
ended
Chief
in
into
a tie.
this?
So I myself set In Control and Visionary, and that's exactly how it played out. At the moment, he and we're looking pretty, in all honesty, in terms of the predictions. And if I remember correctly, we're actually leading. Both of us are tied for first in the predictions overall. So, I mean, all I can really say is suck it.
all right. Let's see what you're gonna be saying after Lycus's games. CDAPS, we don't see you on the board. What are your predictions?
You know, I'll just go down the whole list. I would have had In Control because I'm
Oh,
a
yeah, 'cause they
Homeland
won.
simp. I'm a Homeland simp. I love my boy Exile and Navozo. New roster addition for In Control joining Sherble. Or no, it's Bone, Yusuke, and I'm just completely blanking on the last member. But I would have predicted that new roster to come in. I love Stokes' casting, and their team is very solid. But I just don't think that they had enough experience to take them over. Visionary, insanely strong roster, would have predicted them as well. I'm totally not just patting myself on the back and using prior info. I totally would have predicted that. I'm gonna say I'll predict Lycus because they are just a lot better of a established team. However, I'm gonna disagree with Blue Panda and Chief because there's somebody on the Redux Rising squad that I don't think you guys are aware of. His name starts with a B, ends with a Y, and it's Burnt Turkey. And he's just an insane player who's one of the most fun people to watch. The copy pauses in chat always explode because Burnt Turkey has arisen. He's just everything that T3 aspires to be. So Redux Rising takes that map. I'm not really too familiar with the rest of the teams besides Wichita Wolves, so I'll just give them by proxy because my boy Anarchy is now subbing in for them onto their main roster. And I'll just go with the crowd on 303.
Oh, see, Panda's more than familiar with Burnt Turkey after last week, and I mean, Burnt Turkey's a crazy dude, but you know what? It's not Thanksgiving yet. We're gonna have to wait a month for that one, and we're gonna have to wait for him to play a little bit later. But we do see these operator picks, and Zofia at a whopping 96%. Oh my lord, remember when that used to be Ash? Now it's gonna be the only one with a kid on the board.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate given the change in meta. You know, that utility sync, you need to be just burning through as much utility as possible. Ash is devolved less from that hard entry fraggy, running and gunning straight into the building and looking for kills, to almost more of a supporting type operator. The main role of an Ash is go and burn the utility sync, deal with the ADSs, deal with the magnets, and then hopefully try and get your breaching rounds off into a shield, into a soft wall, and enable the rest of the team to go in for that push. So it's not the Ash of yesteryear, unfortunately, and that's why we're seeing that dip. Zofia just infinitely more relevant, can burn through a lot more.
Jaeger.
Jaeger, it's the Jaeger game, that utility sync that I was just talking about. He is in a situation where he's never not going to be relevant unless he's banned out.
Yeah, that's a lot of Jaeger that we see. That's the main thing the audience needs to watch out for today. Count how many rounds that we see Jaeger in, because right now it's 100%. If a single round doesn't pick Jaeger, that count's going to drastically go down. Now, CDAPS, do you see anything weird on the board besides a 100% Jaeger?
You know, the new operator Malusi has a
Yes.
very, very high playing count. This is the influence rate, so it does account for
Oh
ban a little bit.
no.
So in 68% of the rounds that she like isn't banned, she's taken, which is a very, very high number. So
I have to
those
interrupt you
banshees,
really quick.
okay,
I have
fire
to.
away.
I'm so sorry, but Jaeger's 100% is no longer correct. It is a 98.9%. Okay, you can continue.
I'm heartbroken. I don't know if I can go down. I can go on.
Look, let's be honest, that's as it should be. The man is just too wild at the moment. It's crazy just how well-rounded Jaeger is. He's got an incredibly relevant gadget. In fact, it's always going to be relevant. And in fact, the sheer fact that he hasn't been picked is astounding to me in at least a couple of rounds. The 416 carbine, I mean, enough said. The gun's just absolutely insane. Able to contest up to almost every single AR available to the attacking side as well. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and the thing that is a little bit concerning, a little bit confusing in my mind at least, is Maestro is seeing a lot more play than we thought. I know he's a high pick rate in a lot of defenses, but the fact that we're seeing him in 144 rounds played, 65.9% pick rate, teams are just frothing the Italian.
Yeah, they're thropping him indeed, but Connor, do you agree with that? Do you think these more larger dudes that are holding down a lot of these defenses are the way to go?
You know, I'm a firm believer that a lot of people might necessarily crutch Maestro. He isn't necessarily an operator that needs to be brought for every single site like some teams at lower levels do. However, with that being said, Alda do go Burt, and those Evil Eyes do act as a nice sponge in for explosive utility, such as the Ash rounds as well as the Zofia Lifeline launchers. So that's sort of where his place is. It's just adding in another little bit of an extra buffer zone coming through onto the side of the utility dump. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you want any operator alive in a 1BX situation, you do want the Maestro, and his clutch ability is only rivaled by the smoke with the canisters and the SMG-11 shotgun. Those are sort of the last two operators. Like, if it's a 2v5 situation and you have a Maestro and smoke, it's not as bad as it looks necessarily. So that's sort of, and if you just give a really good player the Alda, he can take out all 5 members of the enemy team with a single click of the mouse one variety.
Yes, and we are going to be getting into the game in a very few amount of seconds, but this is your final chance, boys. What are the predictions? We see Synthetic going attack on Coastline, the preferred side. What's it going to be? Blue Panda, go.
Look, I'm not going to change my prediction. I 100% believe Lycus are going to take this. Like I said, that Terminator roster, they've been put together, designed purely to just absolutely dominate their opponents. Yes, they've been taken to overtime twice, but coming into the Synthetic, they're just looking on the whole the weaker team. I wouldn't be upset if I was surprised. In fact, I'd be ecstatic if Synthetic were able to bring it out and get the 2-0 themselves. But it's that insurmountable situation. I just don't see it happening.
All right, C-Dabs, you don't have any predictions technically on the big screen. You can change it without any issues right now. Are you going to go over to
7-5
Team?
Lycus. 7-5
Really?
Lycus. Yep, it's
Okay.
gonna be close, but they edge it out.
That's good. Okay, and edging out. It's kind of a middle. Okay, we can take that. So we see 7-5. Let's get a scoreline for you, Blue Panda. You seem to be a diehard Lycus guy.
I mean, look, I don't think it's going to go that close. I think 7-3 would be the best situation here for Synthetic.
Even with
Like
them
I
on
said,
attack?
Like I said, I'd be happy to be proved wrong, but just we've seen just how capable these players are. We know exactly what we're going to be doing. And speaking of getting into it and these players, CDAPs, we're heading to Coastline. Operator Band's going to be coming in. I mean, are we going to see something different? Are we going to see the Glaz prioritized here? It has been making its way back into competitive operator pools. And on a map like Coastline, I couldn't imagine a better operator.
Yeah, I mean, you can just sit on ruins and do nothing and still just get picks. But I want to first off say bye to Keg, gone but not forgotten, as it's just going to be me and Blue Panda from here on out as we lose our Sherpa and are going to go climb the mountain that is this series starting on Coastline. First operator, a operator that does climb mountains. That's Buck, the Canadian, going down, as well as the Blackbeard. No face shield, crutches, that saran wrap. allowing people to just tank potentially fatal gunfights and just get that a little extra buffer zone is especially strong on Coastline because there's a plethora of rappel angles that you can utilize to your full advantage, as well as Lycus and Synthetic can both go fast because those Banshees will not be inhibiting their movement speed.
Final ban going to be coming in, and it goes the way of Lycus Empire. Are we going to see a mirror being banned out here? Oh no, unfortunately we've had a player leave. Hopefully we can get through this before they have to go for the rehost. You hate to see it. And Wemai will be the final ban, so Mira has been left available in play. We're also going to see, the standard stuff. Unfortunately, Echo is still soft quarantined at the moment. Rip the yokai drones, because for some reason they just never seem to be working. And going into it, this could be interesting, given what is going on. He's restarting his router, as I think the
He
call
said he
might
was
be...
fixing skins. He was fixing a skin.
Okay, sweet. But we are getting into it. Hookah Billiards to start us off. I mean, name a more iconic duo than Coastline and Hookah Billiards as we get into it. And what is Braction playing here? He's locking in the clash. He's going for a 6-pick. Surely not. I know it's Coastline, but don't do him dirty like that, bro.
If we see an interrogation, I think that'll be the second time. Is okay. I was about to briefly say that there's no Jaeger, and this could skew the statistic. But as soon as I start talking about anything, I get the caster's curse coming through. It's like Braction is in our comms right now and goes, "Yeah, I did forget that we need Jaeger. We're gonna have that coming through." So yeah, Hookah Billiards, a little bit of extra loading time coming out as Braction's PC is struggling just a bit. But overall, second floor Hookah Billiards Lounge. This is the pretty much most common site you're going to see on Coastline. The map is attacker sided, so you're going to expect maybe a 3-3 split, maybe even 4-2 for the attackers, and that's consistent. But if Lycus just comes out, has some crazy strats, starts winning their gunfights, especially sort of hinging upon the information brought by the Black Eye cameras of Defiance, in conjunction with the intel difficulties that the synthetic roster are going to have trying to fight both the Vigil Scanner and the Mute Jammers, could be kind of difficult.
Yeah, and they're just having a bit of fun at Braction's expense right now, as he is still trying to load it. Crafty did go for the 6-pick onto the Jackal off of the Dokkaebi, so two operators that largely fill the same role on this map. I think the biggest difference, obviously, is the gun they bring with them. Running a DMR as opposed to an assault rifle, there's inherent strengths and weaknesses on both sides. Jackal, just that little bit more secure, can flush out the roam game, deal with those players who will inevitably be sitting off site. So they've doubled down on dealing with the flank watch. Makes a lot of sense. Braction, bro, it might be time to invest in a modern PC. Unfortunately, Windows 98 is no longer cutting it, my friend. And okay,
Yep, he's gone.
He's just straight up gone. Whether they call for a rehost or just play it out to spite him is yet to be seen here. I mean, it's only a Jaeger. What have you got to lose playing it out anyway? No call for a rehost yet. There's Big. He's going in hard. He's having a bit of fun in chat, and it looks like Lycus have just decided to play it out.
Yeah, I mean, they can just treat it like Braction went for a failed spawn peak, except you're not going to have the ADSs. But fortunately for them, I don't see any frag grenades, so definitely not bad on that front. There's no going to be explosive kills coming through those top drone holes behind Blue Bar as well as on Cool Vibes. But the way that they're already extending the site, you see Psycho all the way on the other side. He's in Master. He's reinforcing and probably going to be playing that wonderful area of theater till his death. But it might be all for naught, especially with how Synthetic is already starting up their attack. They're going from the southwestern corridor, and Salt gets a beautiful pick onto Defiance, trying to get a little bit over aggressive. They trade back and forth damage, trying to even up the man counts, but now find themselves at even worse of a deficit than they started.
I mean, in a game like Siege, it's not time to count them out just yet. There's still 3 players left, so I'm very wary of potentially, getting caught out of a run out from below. Full entrance, Nitro Cell, and just those black eyes, which he has now found. So just sitting on the palm tree, chilling as much as everyone here on Coastline. But first minute almost done, and it's a 5v3. Carl, Hourly, and Psycho. If there were any 3 to do it, it would be them. They've got the Maestro. Like you said, we talked about earlier just how powerful the Alder is, how good it is at locking down a site and holding off that inevitable push. And they're holding upstairs, they're waiting patiently, inevitably just anticipating that final aggress in. And look at Carl, he's off chilling in the kitchen. He's about to meet Sad, and unfortunately Sad meets the short end of a shotgun. Will be taken down. Man count brought even closer as Hazmat is just being tagged up. They're not quite sure from where. A little bit of concern, a little bit of panic, and they think maybe they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, there is still the potential that they're walking on a minefield. Cal does have a nitro cell in the back pocket, but Psycho getting a beautiful kill onto Fig. The nice shots rain through chat as he goes the distance from downtown all the way through those grates onto Aqua. It's an even 3v3, which is not too bad, but then with the plant going down, it's a potentially post-plant situation. Everybody's swinging in, bullets flying back and forth as it's an Aqua standoff. Psycho getting downed by Crafty, auto raining true, getting that refrag as Hourly will pad his stats, but they only have about 20 seconds to continue through as we're going to watch the air jab send another player to the moon. Hourly picking up another kill onto E-Man. It's all up to Hazmat in a 1v2 clutch situation. They could just stick the plant and go for the hold of where he is. They know he has to be inside of luggage, but he's creeping up. He's on the Zofia. He needs to pre-fire this corner. He takes out the ult and he pre-fires and gets the second as well. Synthetic starts it off strong, keeping that man advantage from the unfortunate disconnect of Braxton, taking it all the way and taking the lead 1-0.
Look, I'm not saying that the second half of that match played out like a Vince Vaughn movie, but it was very reminiscent of Dodgeball. 3 players on each side facing up to each other. And unfortunately, with that post-plant situation, Synthetic had all the advantages, and Lycus had to force in. Unfortunately, starting off the entire map, the entire series, with a man disconnecting is not how you want it to play out, especially when that player is Braxton of all people. Could definitely have been a vastly different round if he'd stayed alive. It was stayed in the server at the very least. Going back to Hookah Billiards, they're looking for the same thing. Again, it did come very, very close, so it makes sense they're going to go for the reattempt here, especially now that Braxton is in the server. One change already coming in that's a little bit more evident. They were hovering that line. They do stick it in. They keep the Jackal, sorry. So they're going to ditch the ace, ditch the hard breach here. Look for that flank watch, because really it was hugely impactful in that last round.
Yeah, it allowed them to sort of buy just enough time with that air jab. It isolated out the 2 remaining players of Lycus, so it was one-on-one engagements as opposed to the 2-on-1 as they were swinging towards that pool table. And time, every single second of it was needed for Synthetic to hold onto that post-plant position. Ultimately, the Maestro was sort of stuck in a position of he had to swing. He had to try to hold the angle, but Hazmat was just too prolific with that rifle. He was able to get the final 2 frags, ice it up, clean it up, pat his hands down, and says he already has half as many kills as he had in the entire series last week in Playday number 1. So Hazmat, eat up. I respect you. But for Lycus, they now have an even 5-5 with some ADSs coming through. The smoke canister coming out of the attacking side was able to block just enough vision for them to get that default plant over onto the backside of the A-bomb chassis. So you do have to say that the Jaeger would have had some sort of impact. It would have taken a little bit more time to maybe burn that utility, or maybe just taken both of the smokes, in all honesty. But it's going to be also a very similar take coming out of Synthetic. They want to push Aqua, they want to get that plant down, and they want to take these gunfights, especially because that you can see through the walls. The players can't, but we can, that they already have some window repelling shenanigans coming through.
Yeah, it's all about holding those cross angles, setting yourself up for the best chance at getting the bomb plant down. Well, the diffuser plant down. The bomb's already there. But at the moment, Synthetic, they're not rushing into it. They're not rushing in headlong. They understand the real threat here as Psycho, unfortunately, does catch sight of Emmett. Unfortunately, he catches sight of his gun as well. Losing a man early, same as the last round. This time, it's to gunshots rather than a straight disconnect. And losing the Vigil early, that's not what you want. You want that Vigil to pinch in later into the round, start to execute onto the bomb site once the attackers themselves are executing, and from there you can hugely impact the way things goes. But Braxton, he's still alive, he's still over in VIP. I don't think they know that they were doubled up over in that position, and he could be the one to pinch in and start executing onto the attackers once they go for the plant.
Yeah, one adjustment I would have liked coming out of the Lycus Empire defense would be some sort of vertical pressure down towards office, because right now every single Synthetic player is essentially locked up as Sensei's going to fall down, and it's an answer back. A beautiful shot from the SMG-11 as Call separates Hazmat's head from his body, even though he's on an upside-down rappel. But it's a 4v3 situation. Nitro cells are very effective towards this kind of plant, but that one sound cue coming out, and just like that, the Nitro cell does down. The diffuser is going to be finished off by Defiance from down below. And now it's a 3v2. Lycus has them, or never mind, it's Synthetic still has the main count advantage. I don't know what I'm saying, and it grows even further as Saul picks up his triple kill. He's swinging. He wants the last one. It's a 3v1 situation. Defiance not long for the world as E-Man is going to land that final shot. And Synthetic starts off 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, they're kicking it off in style here on Coastline. It could be purely down to the fact that Lycus might take a couple of rounds to get warmed up. They've already had some pretty major disruption on the whole. Having that disconnect early, it throws off your momentum, it throws up your preparation. Now, Synthetic, they're just looking warmed up, they're looking ready to go. Some big frags have been found already. They're going to change things up. Lycus Empire, they've made the right move here. They've lost Hookah Billiards twice in a row. They could look to force it again, try and iron out those wrinkles, but they've said, you know what, it's not working for us. It's not working for us at all. We're going to switch things up. We're going to be the ones to make the change. They're going to head downstairs to kitchen service. I like the shift. Now it's down to how they execute this defense. We've seen the double roam over in VIP of the Jaeger and the Vigil. And honestly, I don't think it was quite deep enough. Penthouse probably would have been the better position. They didn't really need to be in a position where they could be scouted out or contested. This time, they have their option as well. Deep roam upstairs, look to execute in that verticality, which will be coming into play as the attackers get set up, and then shut down the attack.
Yeah, on the side of the attack, they don't have a traditional soft breacher because Buck is banned, so that leaves only the British man with the hammer being Sledge, but he will not be showing his face coming through. Instead, Salt and Hazmat with their breaching charges will be the only potential for vertical destruction, and that is a finite number, a lot smaller, only 6. And most likely they're also going to be having to use one of those on the hatch towards bathroom. So that's only 5 holes that the attackers can make for visibility to try to really stir up some trouble downstairs inside kitchen, chef up some frags on the top floor, trying to just look down through their vertical destruction and making a lot of those power positions that the defenders will like to play, such as where Hourly and Sensei both are. It will render them completely unplayable, because why are you going to sit underneath a hole where an attacker is just staring down at you and trying to fill your entire head with lead? But there is a lot of resources allocated to the top side, mainly manpower, because Defiance, Sensei, and now I believe it is Psycho are all upstairs inside of Penthouse. It's a very, very hard roam strat. But do you know how you would counter this? Hit site fast and hard.
Yeah, go for the aggressive play in. Hazmat at the moment, he's going to be looking to continue Braction himself in a 1v1 battle of the SG9 operators. Hazmat going to take some damage, as it is Psycho, long way down, top of White Stairs at the other end of theater, looking to go for those shots. And Hazmat, he's looking for the prone play. Unfortunately, Psycho on the backside has been shut down. Salt was there, and look, quick frags. Defiance finds Salt bad on the refrag, and Braction finds Hazmat winning that gunfight in the end. In fact, he's just going to swing, and Defiance will find himself another. That's 2 kills in the round. He knows there's still someone up there. And this time round, it's Lycus Empire with the big man advantage, and Synthetic will have to play 2 men to 4. 1 man to 4 is Braction going to find himself a double, and all of a sudden, it's Fig against the world. He's in 90. Diffuser not even remotely in control. Went for a flick through the wall, and unfortunately, just a bit too high in that situation. Momentum shift definitely happening here as Lycus looking to take back control of Coastline.
You know, I was going to definitely call for the Moss Files if he hit that. It was actually so much closer than he probably had any right trying to go for that flick. But it's the Ash in a 1v4. Sure, has a really great rifle, but typically your Ash, the narrative is gets the first kill or is the first dead. You don't necessarily see a whole lot of Ash clutches because, and now I'm going to have to talk about the fact that E-Man just disconnected, unfortunately. I think they're just going to sit on the roof holding this rotation, trying to buy as much time as possible so they don't have to eat up their rehost. So let's just go ahead and skip to analysis. There's not going to be a whole much more to break down on this round. Besides the fact that I guess Lycus Empire just needed a change of scenery to really wake up. Hookah wasn't doing it, but they go downstairs and it looked excellent.
Yeah, there's been a shift away from, I think, priority around can work because Psycho got caught out from that position, seeing Saltbad pushed in. There's some stuff that definitely is waiting to come online. They're definitely not as warmed up, I think, as they wanted to be coming into this. That was proven in the first 2 rounds. Lycus, they finally got it on the clock. Synthetic, I think maybe this is a case of Lycus underestimating Synthetic coming into this. They didn't quite expect them to bring that level of frag potential coming into a map like Coastline. We are still waiting on that last player to rejoin it. Emmett, he's back. He made it. He does it just under the wire. He's got 4 seconds to pick an operator. It's going to be Sledge, so he does get there in the end. Obviously, they have the option of a 6 pick, but that last round, very, very much Lycus Empire in control. Despite losing that opening gunfight, Defiance was in the right spot at the right time, got the refrag, picked himself up another one. Braxton just straight up won his gunfights every opportunity that he got. And now going into this, yeah, I think Psycho might even, he's going to 6 pick off the Vigil. It really hasn't done a heck of a lot for them. Information is the name of the game in a game like Rainbow Six Siege, so it makes sense they're going to pick that up. But on the other side, Hazmat, that's a big read going from the Ace into the IQ. They could have just read that like a book.
Yeah, I think it mostly comes down to the fact that they don't need the breaching, so why not take a G8? Because G8 is arguably the best weapon on attack right now, so he's going to have more fragging potential. We already saw what he could do in that 2v1 situation, icing out his only kills as well as one of the 2 rounds for Synthetic. Sure, it was off the back of a 4v5 made into a 3v5 due to a failed spawn peek as well as a disconnect, but overall Synthetic's takes on Hookah have looked very, very good. You talked briefly about how information has been the name of the game for the defenders, but it hasn't really been as much of a factor for Synthetic's attacks. I haven't noticed them doing a copious amount of droning because they just take Aqua and push forward. They get a lot of crossfires opened up. They're kind of ignoring the roamers to a certain extent. Sure, I believe it was Defiance last time on the Valkyrie was able to get a nitro cell down, then confirm the kill. But it was just made into a mute point because they just went into sight and killed the mute as well as the Maestro. It was a 1v3 situation. Only place he could come up was Cool 5 Stairs, and it didn't bode well for the lonesome Navy SEAL as she got fragged and Synthetic took their 2nd round. But look, Hazmat's trying to go into sight, gets absolutely dominated by Hourly on the Maestro as he picks up 3. I didn't even notice, but that's the power of the Alta coming through. All 81 bullets used to put down Rain as he let the chopper sing.
I mean, he hasn't taken a single point of damage here as they tried to force their way into Hookah Balcony, one after another, and all of a sudden, it's a repeat of last round. The only considerable difference is that it's a 1v5 rather than a 1v4 being played out here. The question now is, does Crafty even look to contest? And it doesn't matter if he does. Flawless round win coming out of Lycus Empire. They weren't too pleased with the fact that they dropped the first 2 rounds. They've come into this. Round number 3, they get it back. Round number 4, they blow it out of the water with a flawless. Round number 5, this could be very, very rough for Synthetic. The way things are going, the momentum shift here has happened. We could see what was originally a 2-0 lead turn into a 4-2 half in favor of Lycus.
Yeah, I mean, when your Maestro gets a triple spray down like 45 seconds into the round, it's kind of hard to recover from that on the attacking side because it's a 2v5 situation. They still have all the site control as well as the roamers. It was just a really well-timed sort of swing coming out of the Maestro. I think there was a little bit of drone work coming out of Synthetic, but not enough to fully confirm the location of the Maestro. It seems like he was just, every single operator coming out of the attacking side was just caught off guard. Hazmat in particular, I don't think he knew that the Maestro was there. He just kind of sprinted into Hookah and was punished for that over-aggression. That gave Hourly just enough info that said, hey, this is probably a rush. Let's do 1 + 1 = 2. But I'm going to still click a mouse 1 and mow everybody down.
Yeah, 1 + 1 might equal 2. Unfortunately, when an Alder's involved, it equals 81. Because that's the number of bullets available in the mag with the Alder 5.56. And that's all Hourly needed to shut down that aggressive attempt here. Round number 5, coming into split bombs, split bar downstairs. This one can be a bit both ways. It doesn't matter though. Spawn Peak has found one. He's looking for another, and just the addition of the 1.5 time scope to the P10 Roni shuts down 2 members of Synthetic, and this is what I was talking about. Round 4 was a shutout. Round 5 is going to be an absolute stomp. 2 kills off the same run out from Defiance. That is a big way to start it off.
Yeah, Mozzie may be 5'4", but his impact so far was definitely probably around, I'll give him 6'3". Huge coming out to get those first 2 frags, as well as a good amount of damage onto the IQ of a Hazmat. Defiance was a lot worse for wear than the remaining player that didn't die, but now Hazmat has been put right onto his posterior at the hands of a Nitro Cell. Defiance smells the blood in the water. He wants more. He already got the down, wants to confirm it, wants to go up cool 5 stairs, but his teammates are probably yelling at him, nope, stay calm, especially when E-Man is going to be able to take out Cal. It's a 4v1 essentially, as it's very dangerous to try to recover Hazmat. He's pretty much marked for death, and in a spot that he can be wallbanged, he can do anything to kill you. They know he's on top of the hatch. They have a little bit of vertical pressure coming out, but every single player remaining on the Lycus Empire roster is going to be like a fly attracted to honey, starting to swarm over towards that kill box that Hookah can become.
And drones coming out the other way this time. Defiance using his pested up little helpers to try and get that information. Hazmat will be picked up here. There were 2 Nitro Cells available to them. Surprising that no one went for that play, but no one was below, so it makes a little bit more sense now. Psycho and Ali, they're just playing a smart game. They're not going for the over contest here. Sensei is the one on their own. Nitro Cell thrown on pink bar wall. Will he detonate it? That is the question. If he does, he might get that line of sight onto Emin. There he goes. He blows the distraction game, but he's prone, waiting for Hazmat at luggage. And Emin, he's 1 man versus 4. Once again, Miram, perfect rematch from last round, except it's not the Ash player of Fig this time. It's Emin on the sledge, and Sensei Braction just shuts him down and says, no, not again. They have taken round number 5 and reclaimed themselves the lead going into the final round of the half. CDAPs, they're doing it dirty here, and yeah, I don't doubt for a second that Braction makes the highlight reel.
Yeah, this is a delayed perfect site rotation on Coastline, which is something you don't necessarily get to say that often onto the defensive front, because it's an attacker-sided map. And if you remember just a few rounds ago, Kitchen didn't look good for Synthetic. Their only 2 attacking rounds put onto their scorecard came at the hands of Hookah, where the Alda didn't get 3 kills off of the rip because they tried to rush the bomb site and catch them off guard. But downstairs on Kitchen, they were barely even able to get their boots on the ground inside the building. They tried to take top stairs control, but surprise, surprise, there were 3 roamers on the Lycus Empire defense just running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and they had very, very powerful weapons in the form of the Vigil, the Mozzie, and the Jaeger. This time, Sensei Braction has swapped onto the Valkyrie. That's going to be extra intel, maybe even some extra nitro potential coming over, because Synthetic does seem to really, really like taking both Office and taking Aqua. So, you know, pre-place gang could come out. Maybe a few Coconut Bra videos in the repertoire of the main man Braction could be put on display. However, most likely we're going to see a war on the front that is seen inside of both Penthouse and VIP. That's the main area that's on the attackers' minds, because this time they did bring the sledge. They want to go for that vertical destruction, but at what cost will it take them for their map control?
Yeah, I mean, the cost for entry so far in the last 3 rounds for Synthetic has been quite dear. And oh, look, Owly, he's sitting in main lobby, Crafty there with the diffuser. If they lose this position and this player early, the amount of effort they're going to have to go to reclaim it. Oh, no, never mind. He's found the angle onto Defiance, who was coming down white stairs. And that's exactly what you want. Damage was done back the other way. Not enough to confirm that kill. Losing up the Mozzie early, it's one of those nitros off the board. It's that intel gathering potential. And Owly is just going to go for a straight run out, looking for all the angles. Can't find him. And we'll head back inside, but that's more information given over to the side of Synthetic, and they need as much as they can get. Psycho about to contest, sold bad, unluggage, just on the drone. If Psycho sees that, he should have just gone straight for the contest into the tight corner. Is playing the angles, knows that there is a very real threat close by. it's going to come down to who swings who better at the end of the day. Solbad, he's deciding better of it, I think. Yeah, drone from Crafty is going to come up and give Psycho that information. He's just going to rush the doorway, spray in both players with no damage done. And in fact, it's Figwill to find the next kill onto Braction, and the pinch is coming. Psycho's in a bit of trouble. He's got 4 players all staring at him. Has support, he's going to find Fig, regardless of what's going on. Owly down below decides better of it. Psycho backs into the breach. Which way is he going to go? Concussion is there. He's still alive somehow in the situation. He's going to pull out the CZ, runs back towards the breach, finally gets gunned down. CDAPS, how was he alive for that long?
I have never seen such a pinch come out of an attacking roster, and somehow Psycho was still able to just dance around, do the tango, two-step, whatever, for that long. That could be a very deciding factor on this round. However, it is still a 4v2 situation at the end of the day. Synthetic was able to properly, fully dismantle the topside roam employed by Lycus Empire. So they are looking pretty good, but there's not really any sight control. They're trying to get it. They're trying to push out this Maestro in the form of Owly, but he sees the legs and he finds the head of Hazmat. The E1D will make him sit in one spot. Never mind, he doesn't care. He's built different, but at a 3v2 situation, it's going to be the crossfires coming out as the Zofia Saltpad will make this entry in. It's all up to Kale in a 1v3 situation. We've seen Mutes do crazy things, but he will have to match his total kill counter in order to get another round onto the side of Lycus Empire and secure not a split half, but one going in their favor. He goes for the wallbang, almost narrowly misses the lineup, and as a post plan, it's no longer. He's not long for the world. Assault Bad swinging in will secure the 3-3 split.
Yeah, I mean, it almost looked like they could have done it, got that 4-2 half, but like I say, they just fall a little bit short there after what was a chaotic round, to say the very least. And unfortunately, Carl, he made the decision to go contest onto Kitchen Door. Unfortunately, as soon as he did that, the hatch was dropped, the crossfire happened. He wasn't able to deny the plant, so just an unfortunate situation all around for him. But they're 3-3 going into the half, they're now pushing onto the attack. Arguably, this is going to be their favored side. This could be that 7-3 scoreline that I was talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if they... actually, I would be surprised if they did drop a round going into this half. Gearing up, getting ready to go. Unfortunately, we have had call for a rehost. We are just waiting on confirmation. It is there. And so, unfortunately, Connor, it's going to be a rehost going into the half. We'll get some replays up. And, I mean, just the way that this has played out, this is far more even than we anticipated. And surprise, surprise, look who's back.
Tag is back.
Meow, hello. I'm still a little kitty cat, I guess. That's not really something I thought I would ever have to say on a broadcast. But here we are. So far, I've been keeping track, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had a round without a Jaeger yet.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm putting you guys on the hot seat
If
now.
you count Brack disconnecting,
That doesn't count. He
Yeah, it
was
doesn't
loaded in the
count.
game.
He was loaded in. No ADSs. We can say that there was a round without ADSs being put down.
No, that's not what that score sheet before said. There was no ADS counter.
Hey.
It was Jaeger.
He didn't put down ADSs.
It was 98.9. And
was
so
like
I'm not a mathologist.
I'm gonna argue with that, Max. I'm gonna argue with this forever.
It could be a 99.9 now. That could have been an extra percent that we've seen so far. But overall, in all reality, the game has been pretty fun to see so far. Lycus struggled in that beginning, Blue, and I really thought that Synthetic could keep that ball rolling, but what happened?
Look, I mean, I think it's just the classic case. You know, you're coming into Playday, you're not entirely warmed up. For a lot of teams, it does take the first 2 to 3 rounds for them to actually get into the swing of things and actually just start picking up those rounds. And boy, as soon as round number 3 hit, they picked them up. Did they what? Kill win, flawless kill win again. And that last round, it was just a series of unfortunate events. Defiance, unfortunately, just ran straight into Crafty. I don't think he even knew he was going to be in that situation. Psycho, the 4-man pinch coming in, that's never a situation you want to find yourself in. Concussed as well. I think they were just a little bit concerned that he might have had backup, which he did earlier on in that contest, but Owly decided, you know what, I don't want any of that. He backed himself off, and yeah, I think they played that a little bit more hesitantly than they could have, and I think they're lucky that they caught him when they did. That concussion was only just wearing off. They still had that advantage. If they'd waited any longer, he probably could have picked a kill.
Now, I'm going to ask this question again. It's okay for you guys to change your prediction right now. I'm giving you permission. C-Dabs.
7-5 Lycus.
Panda.
I'm still going at 7-3. We're gonna see Lycus go onto the attacking half, the favored side for most teams here, and we've already started seeing the fragging coming in. I don't see a situation where Owlie's gonna be forced onto the Mavericks, so we're looking good.
Now, okay, here's my $1,000,000 question next. You guys predict that Lycus is gonna win. Do you think maybe there's a possibility of overtime coming on in Coastline?
I don't see it happening either, just because Lycus is just, they look like a lot stronger of a team overall when they're firing on all cylinders. They've had a couple of mishaps in rounds, one of them mainly coming off of the side of a disconnect, playing at 4v5, then somebody spawn peeking, but it was still almost a win for the defense at a 3v5. Just a lot of the rounds have been too close for comfort onto the side of Synthetic by having a man account advantage. But on the map like Coastline, if you get that initial pick onto the attacking side, it's very hard for the defenders to make that, like, kind of step over the hill, get out of the hole that they're starting to dig themselves in. And so far, it's like Lycus is a fine wine. As each round progresses, they're looking a lot better. They're getting just overall stronger, more confident, taking their gunfights with more poise.
Yeah, but sometimes like a fine wine, you just gotta uncork it and drink it all up, and they might be gone after that. I'm gonna be an optimist here. What's up, Panda? Go for it.
I think it's a bold statement to be making. Like, just that last round, it purely came off of an unlucky frag early, going the way of Synthetic. From there, yes, Psycho found himself in a 1v4 pitch. He still got that kill onto Fig, so he was able to get one back at the very least. There is no situation where he should have been able to find that kill in the way that he did. He was watching luggage doorway. He actually 180 flicked, killed Finn, turned back, anticipating Saltbad to push in after he went for that gunfight. So you can see Synthetic, they're playing hesitantly. Overall, they're not as keen, not as aggressive as they like. But yeah, unfortunately, we are ready to go. We're just going to jump straight back into it. Kick, we'll see you again soon. What we will be seeing, though, at the moment, we're going into round number 7. Connor, Hookah Billiards coming out for the first defensive Synthetic. It's a 3-3 half, which you've got to argue for a team starting off on the defense is the ideal situation.
I mean, that's pretty much as good as you can get, especially if you're more comfortable onto your attacking side. Because Lycus is so confident that this is their map choice, you have to think that their roam clear, their executes, and everything, that they're feeling pretty good. Especially already not going down on an attacker-sided map on the defense, getting a tie. They just kind of are like, I mean, that's pretty good. Let's show them what we've got. When we've got the better weapons in our hands, we're going to be the ones taking control. We've got the Lion scans coming out, the flank watch of Nomad, as well as the frag potential that we see come out of the Zofia, Ash, and Sledge. If those ADSs aren't put in the right spots, we could see some explosive kills, especially because the 100% pick rate of Jaeger is going to persist. Big World mantling up that operator hailing from Germany. 416C carbine in hands, ADSs in back pockets, most likely going to be on the roam, trying to utilize the information coming out of Saltbad's black eye cameras to maybe get a nice timed flank. But if Hourly is on his game, it will make that very difficult.
Yeah, well, it's all about utilizing information to the best of your abilities here, and Synthetic, they're cutting it close as they get those last-minute reinforcements, last-minute prep open, and are they going to? Yeah, Crafty gets there in the end. He is going to finally reinforce off the rest of Pink Bar at the moment, but Emin, he's going to be interesting here, to say the least. Picking up the dock, it signals one of two things. One, you're going for an aggressive playstyle. You're going to be looking for fights constantly because you can then stim yourself back up. Or you're looking for that survivability. When things get a bit dire, you've taken a couple of gunfights, or your team has already, and they've taken a bit of chip damage. You just heal them back up, make them sit pretty for the rest of the round, and carry on that way. No longer having that ACOG means that it's not that spawn peaking machine that it used to be. So there has become some there is some inherent weaknesses to the Frenchman now, unfortunately.
Yeah, not as much zoom, the opposite of what we're seeing in most schools. They have a lot more zoom coming out. But overall, the Doc is still going to be a man that can be highly aggressive because it's like he's got 2 lives. Not quite like a cat, but now Crafty almost getting taken down from down below. Actually, he will fall at the hands of Hourly, the Nomad, that AK-74, using pretty much all the bullets in its repertoire to get that kill. But your smoke going down first on a site like Hookah is not boding well for Synthetic's defense, especially when this execute is most likely going to be going in conjunction with a lot of vertical pressure. They're opening up floor angles from down below and making it difficult for the players onto the defensive side to play in the positions that they're comfortable in.
Yeah, you never want to lose your anchor that early on. The longer he's alive, the more he can slow things down, more he can impact that push that inevitably is going to be coming. And Crafty's gone. Unfortunately, he got seen through the floor, shot at, and then decided to run past that hole again anyway. Now, going into what is getting close to that final minute, Emin is going to go down. He can pick himself back up here if he wants, but Sensei, is he going to go for the push? He finally gets there, gets the kill, confirms it, denies away the attempt at the stim stand-up. And now it's looking even worse as Lycus will find Saltbed and Hazmat and Figworld. They all just get dropped. Flawless round win again, coming in here for Lycus. I am sitting pretty with my predictions. I will say once again, Keg, suck it.
You know, I still think Synthetic has a little bit left in the tank. A lot of their round wins have sort of been put onto the backside of heroics. You know, anybody on their roster can just kind of pop off at any given moment. It's the same for Lycus, though, on the flip side of that narrative, as we just saw Sensei sprint up, cool vibes, get a kill with a red dot R4C. I don't know if it was suppressed because our clean feeds don't have sound, but I like to imagine that he had a red dot suppressed laser sight R4C and is just running around taking every gunfight he can. But now Lycus has reclaimed the lead, and off the back of a flawless round nonetheless, their attacks was so strong that Synthetic has went ahead and abandoned Hookah as a site entirely, because they really didn't have anything going for them. The initial pick onto the smoke was huge, and that gave an entire burst of confidence onto the attackers that, hey, we can just kind of sprint around. As long as we don't get shot, we're not going to be slowed. We're not going to be inhaling those toxic babe canisters or running into a shotgun slash SMG-11 around a close corner. We can take these engagements. We can do whatever we want. They put a person onto the big window, and they started just blasting.
Yeah, much like Danny DeVito himself, they just started blasting, and that's all you need to do on a map like Coastline. Strats, well, we've talked about it, it's not overly strat intensive. The strat book becomes more of a paperweight than anything on a map like this, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out for the rest of us. At the moment, you know, Lycus, they're starting up the droning. Psycho just absolutely murders Salt, who was going for a run up fame. And all of a sudden, you've lost the Valkyrie, you've lost the Nitro Cell, and it's looking like we could see these rounds starting to repeat themselves.
Yeah, man count disadvantage, I said it before and I'll say it again, is so hard to overcome on the defensive side. If the attackers get their foot in the door, they're going to put the other foot straight through it, kicking it down and opening it up. Just like this vertical roam is starting to get absolutely dismantled. So much so that all of the players on Synthetic's defensive went ahead and tucked tail and ran all the way down. Psycho getting a haircut by the SMG-11, but the shots can't quite land. As, guess what? Defiance has a hammer, and he's going to be bringing it down as his health pool goes down to 25. A narrowly missed Nitro Cell is going to make him think twice about getting that vertical pressure, but that's what sledges do. They need to open up the holes for the rest of their team to peek in and start setting up for their execute.
The execute, it's gearing up. We're heading to the second half of the round. Prep work that still needs to be done before they can go for that execute. Defiance needs to be incredibly careful here on the sliver of health that he still has left available to him. It's not going to take much. There are still toxic canisters left available to the side of the defenders. They do throw that out, but they're starting this multi-pronged attack. Verticality will come into it, and that inevitable execute as well. Having the full 5-man advantage is always going to work in favor of the attackers. They can set up these long crossfire angles, and it looks as if Hourly will be starting to pressure up from service entrance. There is a player close on the angle. One of those two SAS operators who will be watching, keeping a close eye. And the shotgun swing from Crafty. Oh. It's not the shotgun, it's the SMG-11. This time it connects with the head, and they bring the man count back even. EE1D comes out. And all of a sudden, Crafty has to stop moving. He's going to reposition himself a little bit here. And Eamon chimes in with a kill onto Carl. They've got the man advantage back, and time is ticking away. This could be the round for them to bring it back. Unfortunately, bringing it back is Matt. Quick frags going both ways, and no real advantage eked out just yet. But the clock is still there. That inevitable march of time. And unfortunately, you can't be opening the 4 like that. You will be punished for it, especially when you're as low as you are. It's Emmett to find the kill onto Defiance. 3v2. They need to force something. They need to go in for the plant. Psycho and Braction, what can they do?
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot going for them besides the site control as well as the plant now going down. Crafty doesn't have much HP to his name as Figward will fall down at the hands of the Sensei, punishing him out. E-Man able to get the refrag out. It's all Psycho in a 1v2 situation, able to take out the high HP player. If he gets anything, he's gonna take it. Lycus with the round out of their back pocket. Crafty falling at the hands of the M762. Reload in hand, shades of bolo. Goodbye to the red, white, and blue smoke. He will be put 6 feet under, and a clutch win that Lycus definitely shouldn't have won was falling apart due to a touch of over-aggression coming out of the remaining synthetic defenders.
I mean, you can count on one hand the number of 2v4s that go the way of the team with the lesser player count. That's not a situation you see every day in competitive Rainbow Six Siege, and Psycho just putting in a huge effort there, carrying his team on the back, the bodies of his fallen comrades on his shoulders as he got the final kill and got themselves another round on the board. 5-3 at the moment, 2 more, and my prediction is correct. 7-3 still entirely a possibility here. It was close in that last round. I don't think Lycus Empire will let it get that close again. As we go into round number 9, it's back to Hookah Billiards. We've seen how this goes. Last time they defended here, it was a flawless round win going the way of Empire. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go for the same again.
Yeah, I mean, Lycus's attack was so well structured and so potent of a force with their gunfights that it was hard for Synthetic to do anything. They tried their best. They went for, what, like a couple aggressive peeks. Crafty was the first one to die by peeking some floor angles opened up by the attackers. You have to think onto the side of a defender that, hey, they opened up a floor angle. I wonder if they're gonna watch it. I'll face check it as the hard support, one of the most crucial backbone pieces of the defense in the form of the smoke. You know what? I'm gonna peek it. And then he died. And then they didn't have smoke canisters. They didn't have that SMG-11 that's so good in that close proximity, those close quarters engagements, that it really did just kind of make things a lot more difficult.
Braction.
Sensei. Braction, please. That was the yellow pings coming out right through the door, right through the helmet of the Jaeger. E-Man is going to be relegated to Cam's duty for the remainder of this round.
Look, I mean, you talk about doing someone dirty. I don't think you can do anyone dirtier than that. Eamon just hits the dirt early. Hazmat has been tagged. Carl down but not out at the moment. Hazmat killed Defiance with the SMG-11, but Saltbad, unfortunately, the victim, the sacrifice on the other side of that trade. 3v3 effectively as Carl is still on the ground. They haven't picked him up just yet, and he might be in that situation where it's impossible. Run out from Hazmat. He's going to go from pool entrance straight into Hookah. Use the shotgun. Gets himself back to safety in Hazmat. He's back on the bomb site right now. They've picked up Carl as well. So 4 versus 3 now. That EE1D could be huge in how this execute happens. 2 players on the site. Crafty in behind could pinch onto Psycho here. If they aren't aware, if they're not watching all their angles, that could be a big swing. Are they watching? Are they aware? Psycho, oh no, Crafty. SMG-11 onto 2. Braction goes down as well, and Crafty with the flank of the century, absolutely punishing Lycus for not being prepped and ready. And now the momentum has swung back. Synthetic has the man advantage. There's a minute left to play. That's all they have to hold on for. Crafty desperately running over, trying to find a position where he can help out his remaining teammates. And Owly and Carl, I don't think they're sure what to do.
Yeah, I mean, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They need to get into sight, but they still have 45 seconds left to work with Hazmat getting put into the DB&O state. is making it a little bit more manageable, but most likely the SAS Brotherhood will run strong as the Mute will get revived by the smoke. Hourly able to take out Crafty. That's one of the pieces of the puzzle. Even man count indeed, as they can go for this execute, hinging upon the EE1D that will reign true and base boost the entire map. Default plant being held with the crosses by Cal on the window. If it goes down, it's going to be strong, and it's going to be 2 kills in quick succession for Lycus Empire. Back-to-back 2vx clutch situations from the attackers. Big players make big plays when their team relies on them.
And I think Braxton, he summed it up quite nicely in chat there. Oh my. That is definitely rough if you're a Synthetic fan. That's going to be weighing on your mind if you're one of the players. You honestly, by all rights, you should have had that in the bag. Crafty went for the... we call those the heartbreakers. That's exactly what it was. Crafty went for the revive onto Hazmat, gets gunned down for his troubles, so they lose that smoke. That player that could have impacted the dying moments of that round. And then Carl on the window, just holding his angle as Hourly went for the plant. I'm surprised him and him and the Fig came face to face and nothing really eventuated of it. But Carl, he found the kill onto Hazmat, and then it was Hourly. The plant got done. He stands up, just takes the head off of the Maestro, and now we're staring down the barrel of 7-3 on the board for Lycus Empire. That point already coming into this, and round number 10, if it's anything like the previous ones, could be an absolute shutout. But the real question is, are Lycus going to have to battle through another 1/2vx situation to get there?
You know, I have to think that lightning doesn't strike twice, but it already has in back-to-back rounds for Lycus Empire, where it doesn't seem like they should have won either of those rounds, but they did. They just flat out did. That's 3 rounds in a row on the back of the defense failing to close it out. Their sort of beginning of the round, their mid-round game has looked so incredibly strong, but they can't quite finish. They can't call up the bullpen, get those final innings closed out, and that has been the dagger into the side of the young Synthetic roster so far, as they find themselves at a 6-3 deficit of Lycus Empire knocking on the door of closing this map out.
And we have to be honest, it's not that Synthetic are bad. We said, they've struggled so far. Week number 1 was a bit rough for them coming into this. It's not at all that they're playing bad. It's just that Lycus Empire are better. And there's a reason that, in these 2vx situations, they're winning. They just have the sheer frag potential. They're winning the gunfights. And Psycho, he's swung on by Saltbad, wins it regardless. Now, the man advantage there once again for Lycus Empire. 2 minutes still left in the clock. They're losing out on Saltbad. The Nitro Cell, they're losing out on even more as Emin. He goes to the swing, and Carl is there in support. In the hallway, they find 2 quick frags in the first minute. EE1D to secure their position. And all of a sudden, it's Lycus Empire looking to shut out map number 1 right here.
You know, I have to say, suck it, Keg. Blue Panda's right. There is still the potential for Synthetic to make my prediction correct, but it isn't looking too hot, and they're in a 5v3 situation. Lycus Empire, they're a well-oiled machine, firing every piston, every cylinder, trying to go as strong as they can. They're about to hit sight. Defiance doing a little bit of vertical work. He's doing that Home Depot renovation as Kyle's going to pick up another kill onto Crafty. The double kill in his favor. Black Eye Cam, probably not going to be that impactful as it is now gone. The Nitro Cell of the Mute of Hazmat is going to most likely not going. Yep, he's dead now. It's a 1v5 situation. The Alda is still left alive, so we've seen clutches coming out, but as he's Jackal pinged, he's EE1D'd. The walls are coming up against him. He's locked in place. He's trying to go. He's able to get one. He's pre-firing. He's getting hit from every single corner. And the final blow comes at the hands of Hourly. Good halves in chat. Lycus Empire makes Blue Panda the biggest brain man I've ever seen with a scoreline of 7-3.
100%. And I mean, look, it was, like I said, it was just Lycus Empire. They're just better on the day on Coastline here. It was a frag-heavy map. That's exactly where they exceed. They are excellent fraggers, all in all. And you see Psycho leading the charge. He had great standout moments to it. There are several moments in that map that I 100% believe are going to make some highlight reels, regardless of where they are. And joining us once again, Keg. I mean, I've said it twice now. I'll say it again. Suck it.
He seems upset. Sad kitty.
Oops.
No,
Well,
in all
you know what?
honesty, we had fun, but yeah, look, you got the feeling going into that it might have taken them a bit to get warmed up, and I'm not too upset that I got that right.
Hey, I still have map 2. There's still one more between these guys. You never know. Maybe I'll be right this time. But hey, you know what, Panda? Congratulations, you got a prediction right. I'm incredibly proud of you. It's one of a million chance it finally happened.
I'm being bullied right now by the desk host. Where's HR?
Yeah, where is HR? I'm HR. But C-Daps, what did you think about that match overall? This was one of the first times I think you've seen Synthetic really play in this league, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, this is my first cast on season 4. Haven't been around since back end of season 3 because of other commitments, but I'm here now. And overall, Synthetic didn't look bad. A lot of the rounds were really close. And if they can just pull together and get a little bit more experience as a roster, they can still be a force to be reckoned with. Just an unfortunate draw to get Lycus Empire in round 2 as you're trying to grow as a roster. That's a quick, like, I guess, if it's a flower, or we'll call Synthetic a flower trying to bloom, trying to get those petals growing. Lycus Empire is the
petunia.
gardeners with this like the snippers things, just taking
Those
the
are
head
called
right off the
clippers.
flower.
It wasn't the
Clippers,
Clippers.
I'll say
They were running around with the right on law.
Yeah, no, that was a chainsaw, dude. Like a chainsaw
Yeah.
straight to the flower.
If gardeners use chainsaws.
Hey, some of them do, but we're gonna have to see what the real chainsaws behind the scenes have to say. We're gonna be looking over at the analysts saying what happened in that map and what happened with Synthetic. Why was Blue Panda right? We have to break this one down. Hello, I'm back, and we have two of our favorite analysts here. Hello, Pond. Hello, Smith. Now, Pond, we put you in the hot seat earlier before the game even started. We looked over your predictions, and they were good so far, better than Blue Panda's. But I'm curious to hear what everyone's initial thoughts of this game was.
I might
Uh,
I might
Oh,
be in the
I'm sorry,
hot seat
Pond.
right now. I
Pond.
might be in the hot seat right now, but
Yes.
aren't all my predictions so far? Am I 100%?
Yes, but you were the only one there with predictions on the board besides Panda. But I'm not going to bully
Okay.
him anymore. But I'm curious to
I've
hear your initial thoughts.
I've yet to get I think I've yet to actually get a match wrong. All of my predictions have come out on top. I mean, Lycus Empire. I mean, Lycus Empire is the better team coming into it. I knew that they would try and force them onto a map like either Consulate or Coastline. I knew Synthetic, based on the bans they'd have, they try and take map like Coastline. I was surprised that they actually let that come in. I think that Lycus Empire really won the map ban phase, but even before then, like Lycus Empire is a team of gunners. They got Defiance, they got Braction, and they got they the way that their team works, the way they are synergized together, and it's something that Smitty's going to talk about in a second here, is like the way they're playing off of intel with each other. Like they have, like when they go for a second floor roam, they have that control within a minute into the round. There's no successful roam game coming out here from Synthetic on defense, and like Empire just steamrolled them. I'm typically a little bit more in the middle when I'll talk about teams. I'll try and point out things that went wrong, but I mean, the attack was exactly that. They like Empire just steamrolled them.
And Smitty, what do you got to say about that? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I have a lot to say about him, actually. I knew
Ooh.
coming to this match that Lycus Empire was going to win immediately. Synthetic's a mean team, the best way to put it. And Lycus Empire is just one of the top teams in this league, I'd say. And this match just really proved it, you know. And the defense, you know, Synthetic got it was a 3-3 split with Lycus being on defense, right? And I was wondering what was going on. Maybe they were just trying new things out. I don't know. But I was surprised that they managed to get a 3-3 split on the first half. But in round 7, we take a look at just the aggressive peaks from Synthetic. It was just, I knew something like this was going to happen, especially like from some of the rounds afterwards. You see Smoke roaming. But around 7, what really set the momentum here was just the fact that was just flawless the heck out of Synthetic. Smoke was your first pick off of the board, peeking an angle that he shouldn't have peeked at all. And then we take a look at Cool Vibes later in that round, and I don't know what was going on there, but they had like a doc on Cool Vibes, I think, and they had like a person, I'm not sure who, trying to constantly contest them pushing on Cool Vibes. Um, and they just ended up losing that round because Lycus just they played better. They played together, and it was just it was their map, especially on a map like Coastline, definitely frag heavy. It it was definitely Lycus's win. It was handpicked to them. I was surprised that Synthetic didn't ban this map.
Yeah, usually when you play better, you usually win. I mean, I guess not all the time, but in this case, that was pretty par of the course. But let's talk about that momentum we saw at the very end of the game. Many rounds, I could list off the exact rounds, but I just want to highlight some certain kills. There was that Braxton kill at the very beginning of one of the later rounds, where just through the floor, through all the barricades, it didn't matter where. We just saw so many crazy shots that before Shadow Legacy, I don't think we would have seen. And Pond, I already see you cackling up over there. What's sticking out in your mind?
Man, a shot that really does come to me was actually during this round. It was Hourly's pick onto Crafty. That is a hole Crafty made to hold Blue Bar from above. He over peaked and over committed to the angle as a smoke. He's not playing.
Yeah.
He's not playing in default. He's not playing in default to stop the plant. I you lose your smoke that early on hookah, you don't have that. Your smoke, you play incredibly, incredibly safe on hookah because you do not want them trying to get to default. But they got that kill initially. You see Braxton over there trying to get a nade in. I mean, that man's got home in nades. I'll always say that. He is the most insane nade guy you got out there. But like you lose that crucial of a player so early on. And like Salt tried to get a run out here on round 8, didn't work. I mean, they had a drone on him. It's those early picks, that early aggression, that those almost careless peaks that are immediately punished by Lycus, and then they just that momentum just starting out almost every single attacking round. I believe they had the opening kill every attack round. Just
I think so.
that momentum that they swung into that was just it was their coming into the half, it was 3-3. I think Lycus was trying some new things. We saw some different defensive setups over on Hookah. They were trying to open up that default wall. The one closest to like Cool Vibes stairs, they were trying to get that angle opened up. Typically, the attackers want to get that open, but they were just maybe trying something new. They were doing a kind of soft roam throughout Penthouse, Penthouse and VIP with holding one person below. It was just kind of a disconnected defense. They're trying something new and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
As soon as they started sticking to the more default strategies, and as soon as it switched over to attack, it was, I mean, Synthetic got 3 rounds on them, but after they started, as soon as they started firing on all cylinders, there was no stopping them.
Well, in the words of Elton John, this train don't stop here anymore. We'll have to see if that goes over into map number 2. Crafty is an absolute madman when it comes to that smoke pick. But here's the thing, though, boys. Smith, what is your top play of that entire map? We only have a few minutes left, so I want to finish off with this.
Honestly, I'd say the round 8 clutch by Psycho. He got in there. He got the opening pick, which was Valkyrie, Salt, and he just went in there in kitchen. Both the defensive players were in, I think, lobby and bathroom. He went in there, planted. Ash was covering Psycho, planted, and got those 2 kills and clutching up a 1v2 right there. And honestly, I'd say he carried that round overall. That was a play of the day, play of
Yeah,
the game.
I just about lost my mind when I saw that play. And Pond, what was yours, man?
Honestly, my favorite play of the game was dang, that's kind of a tough question. My favorite play of the game actually came from Synthetic. I know that I've spent a decent bit of time now ragging on them, but my favorite play of the game was the first round from Hazmat, getting that post plant situation down and actually clutching it out. I thought that coming into that, I thought that we were going to see an upset coming in here. I was like, this is a terrible post plant setup for like Empire. They have a guy committing to diffuser. They don't have the guy trying to contest. They don't have the guy trying to contest Aqua. They're committing one person to they're committing one person right there to the plant and the other one to try and stop him. The I forgot who was it that was playing on Maestro, but he didn't pre-fire peeking the corner, knowing that Hazmat's there, hearing the sound cue, didn't pre-fire him. Hazmat had the pre-fire there and just had to snap over, got those kills. I thought that was going to set the precedent for the game. I thought that was really gonna set up for the game we were going to see, but it ended up not swinging that way. But I think that was my favorite play of the game.
Well, let's see if we can see some similar amazing action going into map number 2. Looks like we'll be going back to the casters now. Thank you very much, analysts. It was fun analyzing with the two of you, and we'll be seeing you at the end of the next game. Come back, casters. Come back to me.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back, casters. That's what I want to see. Post Malone and Panda Malone up next to me on side by side. We're gonna be going to Kafe. Not quite as interesting, I would say, as Coastline. But any initial thoughts before we head on in?
Look, there's a pretty significant difference between the two maps. Coastline, like we said, it's not overly strat intensive. You can get away with not having a hugely deep strat book. Kafe, that's not the same case. You need to be prepped, you need to be drilled, you need to figure out what you're running in terms of depth of roam, setups on the bomb sites, and in fact, unfortunately, Keg, we're just gonna have to kick you straight out. We're going. See you soon, guys. We'll see him soon anyway. And Connor, we're going into Kafe, kicking things off. It's gonna be Lycus starting off on the defense, and surely that they've already proved that they can use those advantages in their favor. And starting off in Kafe, defending the preferred side, surely they're going to establish themselves a pretty hefty lead.
Yeah, I mean, this is Synthetic's map choice after all, so I'd expect them to be a little bit more comfortable than the sort of attacks and defenses that we saw without a whole lot of structure and sort of direction coming out. Lycus definitely looked a lot stronger on Coastline. We could see a flip story coming out, but I've said it once, said it probably up to 5 million times this point in my casting career, that Kafe is just one of those maps that every single tier 3 team, if you want to be successful, you have to have Kafe, Club, and Villa in your back pocket, in your repertoire, ready to go at all times, because every single team loves to play it. So you better be good at it, or else you're going to take a lot of losses if you're not comfortable. But speaking of not comfortable, the Maverick's gone. I think that makes somebody, a certain someone, a little bit happy that he doesn't have to play him.
Yeah, it feels odd though. Doubling down on the hard breach on a map like Kafe, where yes, you want some hard breach, but it's not the most vital thing for you to execute onto a bomb site. Where on the other side of things does make a lot of sense. I'm surprised we're not seeing the likes of a Nomad, the likes of a Jackal coming out in terms of what they enable on a map like Kafe, because the depth of roam that you can achieve is that much more significant than a map like Coastline, or one of those 2-story maps. Mirror comes out. The fact that we had to wait this long for a Mirror to ban to come in, it's a bit surprising. But yeah, no surprises overall that the Spaniard is going to be banned.
Yeah, Mira's one of those operators that it is a large commitment to go for the Mira. So even if she is unbanned, you typically don't see her unless those pocket strats come through. A lot of teams don't allocate the proper and necessary time with having a Mira up to really feel comfortable that if by some grace of God the bans line up to a fact that, oh, we could bring a Mira, you might not necessarily be fully comfortable. She's not an operator like Thatcher that if he isn't banned, you can throw him into any lineup and he's going to do well. Mira, your entire strat has to revolve around her, and using those mirrors to just absolutely cut off a lot of long angles and make kill boxes, make certain positions that the attackers want to take even more difficult to overcome. But all of those points are just absolutely nothing because she's not there. I'm not going to harp too much onto that fact that, hey, maybe they could have brought the Mira. They can't. So,
well, you know who it. Look at what Psycho's bringing. Frost gonna be showing up here in Kafe Dostoevsky. It's not every day you see a Canadian in Russia, but here, ready to go with that 9mm SM. I'm interested to see where they position this, because Frost is one of those very, very telegraphed operators. If you do catch someone else, it's usually because it's the dying moments of the round. They're focused more on getting themselves into the bomb site than actually clearing out any form of trap. And so this, Psycho, this could be a very interesting pick. I would hope that he's picked it for a different reason than just the fact she has a shield, but it is something a little bit out of the...
the thing is, when you think about what Psycho is bringing to the table, it's a shield with a secondary shotgun and a weapon that hits like a truck with a 9mm. You don't necessarily see the frost. Like the frost traps are kind of a second thought to a certain extent. They're bringing her for the rest of her utility. The Wamai is banned out, so you need some sort of replacement for who's going to bring the shield. Why not Frost? Why not give this player a 1.5 as well as maybe a bit of a surprising, oh no, my leg is caught in a bear trap as I'm trying to sneak up a staircase. So it could work out, but also having the secondary shotgun is going to allow Call to not necessarily have to do as much site setup. Hourly's Bailiff will have a couple of extra bullets in the backside, even though that's not necessarily an issue with Maestro because 81 in the primary, as there's a whole lot of drone work coming out, a lot better intel gathering coming out of Synthetic, but not good enough as the player from down red. Sensei teaching him a lesson. Braxton gonna put Hazmat down to 20 HP for the remainder of the round because he got put DB and no.
Look, I'm genuinely curious. I think that maybe it wasn't all Braxton in that gunfight. I think there might have been a touch of friendly fire involved there in putting Hazmat in that down but not out state. But, you know, Braxton, he gets out scot-free. He's going to rotate himself over towards T2 on White Stairs. He's got room to work with. All 5 members of Synthetic are positioned around Top Red, Cigar Shop, and Cigar Lounge. Psycho sees that. He goes for a bit of a spray. Is going to take some damage, but he does some back. Overall, health-wise, it is still Lycus Empire in the forefront. They're doing a little bit better, and the walls being open. This is an aggressive setup on the defense. They've got options all the way through to Cocktail. Balcony Defiance is going to be playing in backstock. Unfortunately, he will be the first one to go down, ironically, at the hands of Hazmat, who was down not too long ago in this round. But they get the early man advantage. It's about transitioning from that first kill into positional advantage, into an execute and a plant, and from there they can win this round out. But it's not over yet. Psycho going to bring the man count back. Even Nitro Cell is... Well, no Nitro Cell, actually. It was just straight up explosions coming out of Synthetic. And they're still holding fast, holding tight, not giving an inch yet. But with 30 seconds left on the clock, something has to be forced here.
Yeah, 30 seconds left. They've only been given an inch, but Synthetic needs to take quite a few miles. It's going to be even more difficult as there's a flurry of kills going onto the Lycus side. E-Man breaking up that orange streak, making it a 2v3 situation, but only 17 seconds as the plant is going down over near the trash bags. Hourly wants to swing. He wants to pre-fire all 81 bullets coming out, but the shot of E-Man will drop down in silence. Psycho, the smoke swing, can't quite get it done onto Fig. That is his world. This is the Synthetic roster going in as he drops in behind, is able to take out Call. It's Hourly in a 1v2 situation. The entire world has fallen down apart from him. He has to go across the map, get the defuse, and deal with the crossfire of all crossfires. So he's going to be put down to 1 HP. He's able to drop down Fig, but he still has to hunt one more. Has a couple of rotate holes. He has a pathway into the piano, but the remaining player of the Synthetic attack is playing super passive. Bailiff in hand, needs to get in close proximity, but he's too slow. He doesn't have enough time, and he has not enough health either. 0 left in the tank. E-Man clutching it out. Synthetic taking the first round on Kafe attack.
Yeah, as much as the defenders have that 6th man in the back pocket of time, you can play the clock if you want to. As soon as that bomb diffuser goes down, it's flipped on its head. Attackers are the ones playing with the clock in hand. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, just being left in that 1v2 situation, didn't have the information to figure out where the Ash player was. He swung, he got the kill eventually. But then Emmett, the positioning that he held at the end of that round, he could have over-aggressed. As soon as he saw where the Maestro was, he said, no, I'm going to hold here. I'm going to wait for him to come to me. Some players would have gone for the swing, would have gone for the recontest, but Emmett, no, he keeps his cool, says, we've got the advantage here. Why force something if we don't have to? And they won it out because of that calmness.
Yeah, playing in a clutch situation, very passive, is a lot easier said than done, as I stuttered over my words, but really well played by E-Man, as he showed just enough aggression, as evident with the 3 next to his name on the kill side, killing a majority of the roster employed by Lycus Empire, and they'll be going right back to the same site. The defense looked very strong all the way into the end. It was what, a 4v3 execute? And there was just bullets flying everywhere, absolute pandemonium. Then all of a sudden, the plant was down. It was just kind of like Lycus got caught off guard with their ability to get into sight right underneath their noses.
Yeah, and I mean, just being able to hold like that. I mean, he got 3 kills in that round, so he definitely was involved. It wasn't like he was the last player left alive, having done nothing and then just played the clock. He was well and truly involved. He found 2 very, very big kills going into the middle stages of the round. He then clutched out against the Maestro. Going into this one, there's been a bit of chat already. There's some of the mental games being played, and speaking of mental games, if Braxton finds a kill from here, that is world-shattering as an attacker. That's going to crush your mental. You're going to be very, very disconcerted going into the rest of the round. But luckily for Synthetic, they don't find anything. They're just going to drop the hatch top red. All that information, the audio cues being fed in by Braxton. He sees the Selma coming out. He's going to tuck himself right into that left-hand or right-hand side panel, depending on how you're looking. Oh, the window opens up. Braxton is spotted before he can aim down his sight. And that is just preparedness coming out of Synthetic. And off the back of that, Crafty finds a big kill.
Yeah, that is a huge kill as the sensei became the student. Got taught quite a hard lesson in the form of the bullets riddling his body with holes and making sure that he's not going to be active for the rest of this round. With the man count advantage, Synthetic has a lot more map control than we saw last round and quite a bit faster. That shield inside of Freezer will now go down, but they're also going to have to worry about the Malusi Banshees that will be wailing as soon as the site execute goes forward. Hazmat, he's trying to push White Corridor, and that might be ill-advised because Psycho and Call are both there. Defiance locked up inside of Freezers. The air jab's going to cut off the rotation of the potential retake towards Piano. You know, it's starting to shape up and be a very interesting setup because now Hazmat taking a little bit of damage, but outwardly falling at the hands of Saltbad. That's the Zofia coming through, made his way all the way inside a bathroom and has a nice crossfire to cut this site in half. Everybody remaining over towards Cocktail is gonna have to go through Saltbad. If they fly through his scope, they will probably die, but they need to get that information and that map control in order to deny the plants, especially when E-Man takes out Call. That's no more smoke canisters. It's a 5v2 execute.
As you say that, it's a 5v1 execute. The last one left is Psycho. Not quite sure what the plan is. He's playing inside the smoke. Ooh, playing around the smoke, kind of. On the backside there, and Freezer in backstock. The swing happens. He's going to find 2. Session. That's Crafty and Saltbad going down. So all of a sudden, this 5v1 is a much more manageable 3 versus 1. Still rough, but it's definitely one that he could win out here. Damage done to Fig. Not quite able to confirm that kill. This 1.5 times MPX. A very solid weapon. Very, very formidable. And Fig, he decides to play it safe. Repositions towards top white. Spray going in. Psycho gets gunned down on the back side of things as the rotate did happen. All of a sudden, Synthetic, they found that momentum. First 2 rounds going their way. The last time this happened, though, CDAPS. It was a massive comeback mounted by Lycus. They then won the next 3 rounds. Is history going to repeat itself?
You know, when you already said it, it's just looking so much like the exact same narrative that Lycus went to the old school preferred site all the way on the top floor, just like they went to Hookah on Coastline. They lost 2 in a row to Synthetic just coming out the gate swinging, and Lycus not necessarily being ready for the vast amounts of aggression employed by the Synthetic roster. But then they sort of got their feet underneath themselves. They took a deep breath and realized, we aren't just going to be able to walk over these players. They're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. They have good gun skill, and if they put themselves into positions where it's aim versus aim, typically the attackers are going to come out on top because they have faster firing weapons, they do more damage, and have that sort of element of the surprise factor. They control the engagements. And on the side of Lycus Empire, they've just been kind of sitting back a little bit too passive. Where their defenses were insanely strong is when they weren't able to take risks, or were able to take risks. They weren't afraid to. They just swung. They felt confident. Their roam game was good, and Synthetic wasn't able to properly break them down. And on a site like third floor, you can't really roam that heavily. You sort of only roam will be sitting somebody behind a metal shield inside a piano, but that's still right next to site.
Yeah, the depth of play available on the roam here on Kafe is phenomenal if you know how to utilize it. And Lycus, they are well and truly committed. 3-man spread on the second floor. You got 1 player on the bomb site, well, close to the bomb site. It is going to be Owly. And this, I mean, look, we've seen the momentum shift happen before. It's not entirely out of the realms of possibility that we see it happening again. It's when Lycus decide to flick that switch is the question. And I don't think at all that Synthetic are helping their case here. Yes, talking a bit of smack is good, but they have gone in reasonably heavy with some of the stuff. They're saying it's not offensive, and that's a good way to start things off. Owly gonna first on a hat. Refrag goes the way of Synthetic though, so it is evened up, but they only lose out on the Jaeger. Taking away an ace to start things off. Phenomenal way to kick off a round. No hard breach, no way to get themselves into the site except through those fatal funnels, and we know how those can play out.
Yeah, that is the only hard breacher on the side of Synthetic going down first. Not looking good, especially with half the round gone. Defiance is still alive and kicking inside of Reading, and kicking he definitely is, as he's actually in Dining. That's my bad on the miss call, but so is Call inside of Training. Train. Defiance still just running around, wanting to take engagements with the P10 Roni upstairs as the room clear is suffering dramatically. Diffuser dropped onto the ground as the shots almost rain onto the sledge, but it will be the SAS operator of E-Man to deliver that fatal shot onto Defiance's Australian noggin. But a minute still left on the clock, and Kale is inside of Train. They don't have time to go for any vertical pressure because time is dwindling. They haven't really taken a whole lot of map control over towards the bottom of site, and they can't breach because Hazmat was put inside a body bag.
They know where Carla is, but unfortunately, they're not taking salt bad, and yes, they get the refrag, but losing out on the Zofia, concussion grenades, the impact grenades available to them, definitely could have helped as they go for that execute. 35 seconds left. They've got no straight avenues down into the bomb site, no hatch push, no breach push. They are just going to have to force it straight through the doorways and rely on their gun skill. And this could be that situation. You know, CDAPs, I talked about, there's been some smack in chat. They left the hatch in Fireplace unreinforced. So it will be opened up. Figworld will just straight flash himself. He drops into Freezer. There's the swing there. You can't be doing that. Psycho ready and waiting. Every single move here will rotate. Freezer, Banshee rings out, and the crossfire comes in. Lycus Empire, they get it back in round number 3, much like they did on Coastline. CDAPs, could this be a situation, you know, that causality of talking a big game but not being able to back it up here? Because unfortunately, for all the smack that Synthetic have been talking, they really haven't been able to back it up. And
I do want to say that this is a Kafe with a Thatcher and Maverick ban, so the bans will definitely swing things even further into the defender-sided facet of this map. For Synthetic to have already gotten 2 rounds, you can call this a successful half with it only being halfway done. Any other round into their back pocket will be warmly welcomed for this roster, and if they manage to get a 3-3 split, they'll be setting themselves up perfectly on the side swap. However, if you think about it, on the side of Lycus Empire, they can just kind of continue what they've done. They don't have to necessarily do the exact same setup that has failed them twice in a row on 3rd floor. They need to implement some sort of roam, maybe some nitros down below in Reading for the 3rd floor. But that's where the site is this round, as I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Guess what Lycus is going to be doing? Allocating a lot of resources upstairs and making Synthetic go right into the belly of Beast in order to get map control.
they're going for arguably what is the standard setup here on the 3rd floor. That vertical hold for Reading Room Fireplace. Psycho, he's on the hatches. That's his responsibility. Last minute reinforcements plus those mute jammers being put in place. Yeah, that last round, there was a lot of smack in chat being put down by Synthetic, and then all of a sudden, Lycus Empire just clapped back, and they clapped back hard. Going into this round, if history is to repeat itself, round number 4 on Coastline was a flawless round win. They absolutely just demolished Synthetic, so we'll see if that happens again. I highly doubt it, as this one is looking a little bit more even on the grand scheme of things. Lycus Empire, they've set themselves up. The defense is prepped and ready. We'll see if it can stand the test of time. As Synthetic, they're underway. They're looking for that execute. They're looking for any advantage they can possibly muster here. But look, CDAPs, we both know when Lycus Empire are firing on all cylinders, there are very few machines that can catch them.
Yeah, and Synthetic is just sort of the new kids on the block to a certain extent, trying to make a name for themselves. But right now, they have not looked bad by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, Coastline got a little bit ahead of themselves, but that was because they weren't able to fully string together an entire game. And maybe Kafe is just looking a little bit stronger. They're trying to take top floor with authority, but they've already wasted about a minute and almost a half before any hot action has taken forward. The utility game is coming out as the castle will fall. That is E-Man picking up another frag onto the Defiant. Sensei answering back, clapping onto Hazmat. No more aces. He's first dead. Second round in a row. Call in the meantime finishing off Big World as well. Crafty answering back onto the Sensei, teaching him a lesson. No more Braction, no more worries. It's even Steven. 3-3 man count, but Crafty is right behind a player. It's the shotgun, however, the worst thing that could have happened for the Nomad. The Moroccan will fall. Most likely got the air jabs off, but man count advantage firmly into the hands of the Lycus Empire defenders as they tuck tail, run, vacate the premises on the 3rd floor, and give it to the attackers.
Look, my previous job was working in an outdoor event center, and we got to use the hunting version of the M590. I know how hard those things hit, and that's from the backside of them. I can only imagine how painful. In fact, I kind of felt it when that shot came out. Crafty just put in the ground, and 3v2 with 40 seconds left. It's a hard-hitting gun. You don't want to be forced tight angles, and that was an exact reason as to why. Emmett, he's on his job. He's opening up the floor, establishing those vertical angles to try and find any single advantage they can. They've cleared out Pillar. They have that information at the very least. Saltbad is playing from above, has the option to drop down, push for the plant, and reading. They don't have the vertical control they need. The real question is, do Lycus have the tools that they need to stop this one from happening? SMG-11 spray, Saltbad tagged, but he is going to be sticking on the plant right now. Emin on the backside in support. If the flank happens, this could be very, very rush running. Carl is put on the ground, but Psycho's already made his way into the bomb site. And so has Owly. The two push in. They shut it down. And another round in the back pocket of Lycus. Not quite the flawless of Coastline, but still a very, very decisive retake of the bomb site.
Yeah, especially because it was essentially a 3v5 up on the top floor. And Lycus Empire came out better for wear in that disadvantageous gunfight sort of numbers game. They were able to make it a 3v2, the two players that were sitting down on site, plus a single lone survivor of the initial flurry of frags going back and forth between the rosters, was able to fall back, use the SMG-11, use the Nitro Cell, whatever he kept in his back pocket on the mute, and then went huge. Both SMG-11s were able to get the frags. As soon as you have that dynamic duo ship between the smoke and the mute, you know it's going to be hard to push in close proximities. You touched on it briefly. M590, it hurts. It is a boomstick if I've ever seen it.
That thing is, I have actually seen that gun put more people on their backside than I care to mention. That thing is an absolute powerhouse, and that's only the hunting version. That's not the military adaptation that these guys are running. It hits hard. It hits very, very hard, especially with the gauge of ammunition that these guys would be using. That's never a situation you want to see yourself in. In fact, this game really doesn't do that situation justice. Crafty would not have been on the ground. He would have been on the ground with a gaping hole in his chest. That's just how a gun like the M590 works.
Yeah, he probably would have been shot like through the window. He would have just blasted back and just straight through that wooden barricade if, you had the ragdoll physics that you would have seen in game modes such as the Golden Gun. I wish they would bring that with shotguns in every single game, like just default. I just want to shoot someone with the M590 and have them fly across the room because that's as realistic as you can get. However, 3rd floor. Let's transition over to the more pressing matters. That is the attack coming out of Synthetic. That has been flawless on this bomb site so far.
Yeah, and I mean it's a bit of a momentum shift having one kitchen and reading. This is their next option. I mean they could have gone to the mining fireplace bomb site, but it's the less favored, I suppose, of all the bomb sites coming into this. Now Synthetic, they need to clear their head. They've just lost the last two rounds back to back in rather decisive manners. Sensei, the first to go down on the ground, not killed just yet, but they have no real way to confirm on the kill unless they commit some utility. The drones are going in. They're all the dead body of Sensei. they still have no way to actually guarantee themselves the kill. So there is a chance, as slim as it is in Pillar. Yeah, they're going to go for the pickup. Fig, he's running desperately to try and cut it off. Sprays through the wall. It's just to the right. No, not quite connecting the way they need to. And Sensei is going to be picked up inevitably. In fact, Fig is just going to go for the contest. No, he decides better. He's going to get the default cam. He could have gone, dropped off the balcony there and gone for the kill. But Sensei, they finally get to him. It's going to be Psycho to pick him up. And they do get away unscathed, so to speak. Not as unscathed as you would like, but hey, he's still up and ready to get gaming.
You know, I was just imagining in my head Braxton screaming in the call, "Pick me up, I have the ray gun!" And then they finally were able to get him with just a sliver of his HP to go. But Sight Control already, they're knocking on the door, but a Nitro Cell from downtown. Tim Tebow God-Wilder throw will make it actually a double kill, essentially, because of the Martyrdom nade. So unfortunate for the synthetic attackers, as that Nitro Cell was essentially 2 for the price of 1 Defiance. Just peeking back and forth like an absolute mad lad. Black Ice MP5 in hand, as he's going to check some cams, try to gather in more intel, where Synthetic kind of has to funnel their way inside of just that cocktail door. Fig, in the meantime, able to finally fall off Braxton, who had his life extended for quite a good period of time. But Call inside a bathroom might not be known. He has a good flank, but as Fig takes out another player in on site, that's no more Maestro, no more Alda, as well as no more Ash for the R4C. A beautiful shot coming out of Psycho will make that Ash regret pushing up White, as well as Hazmat getting too aggressive, as Defiance will answer on to Crafty. Final delivery blow. 3 men still left on the board. A lot better of a defense of the third floor variety.
Look, when all I'm saying is when these guys are on point, no competition. Like Defiance, he swings on one, swings on another. It's all done. It's over. It's said, and it's finished. And I do have one thing to say to Emin. I'm really sorry, bro. When Acme are having a clearance sale, don't buy the frag grenades. That's it. You just don't commit. It's Acme. They're not to be trusted, and that's exactly what you're going to be having here. And look, this is a repeat of history coming into this. They won round 3. They won round 4. Going into round number 5, round number 6, sorry. This is the telling point. You know, they've won 3 rounds in a row now. We did see Synthetic even things up at that 3-3 in the final round of the half. But with the way Lycus are going, they're going to be heading back down to Kitchen. This is the first round they won, and they won it quite well. If we see the same level of commitment, the same level of performance coming out, I think Synthetic might be shut out of this half.
Yeah, they started off so strong, but as Keg would say, his favorite sort of reference to make is that Lycus would be a Regigigas, if you're familiar with Pokemon, with the slow start.
I am indeed.
Yeah, the first like 5 or 6 turns, he doesn't have that great of stats, then all of a sudden snaps like Thanos and starts absolutely turning people to dust. That's what Lycus Empire has been so far. Synthetic, they got their quick jabs in, those body shots early on, but then Lycus has been throwing haymakers ever since. They're just going for the right hook, right hook, right hook over and over again, and they're trying to confirm a 1 half on the defense, but that will have to be a replication of what we saw on their sort of second floor roam that was very successful last time we saw Kitchen.
I mean, as the saying goes, if you're going to hit me, make sure I stay down. And unfortunately, at the moment, they, if that last round was anything to go by, they down Sensei, but he got back up. It wasn't enough to finish him off. They got him later on in the round, but that initial push just wasn't as it needed to be. In Defiance on drones, he's going to be spotted out by Crafty. So the 2-man push into reading here as he's waiting. He's holding the tight angle, goes to the prime play, stands back up again. He's just working his quads. Spray goes in. It's Psycho to finish off Hazmat on the back side of it. Down but not out here for Defiance. And all of a sudden, it's just kicking off in chaotic fashion. And somehow, Psycho and Braxton go massive to turn the man advantage in favor of Lycus. Like I said, if you're going to come at me, make sure I stay down, because Lycus are not down.
You know, Lycus hasn't been throwing the first punch, but they're making sure they throw the last one, as Crafty still has quite the mountain to climb with not that much HP. But neither does Braxton. and there's still half of the round left to play with. Crafty can just kind of do whatever he wants. He could sit there for 45 seconds and hold an angle. Most likely somebody's going to peek him. If Lycus is just sort of getting antsy, they're getting over aggressive coming out, but he's right outside of sight. He could just stop and drone, try to gather in some intel, but he's just going for face peeking. He wants to use his surprise element, that 152nd element on the periodic table, as he flashes in, and it didn't work. Hourly sniffed that up from a mile away and secured a 4-2 split for Lycus Empire.
Look, we talked about that slow start. I don't know necessarily if it was the same thing coming here into Kafe, but yes, the first 2 rounds, it took them a bit to get into it. Maybe it's just that adjustment of a new map that caught them unaware. And we're not seeing the 3-3 split here, CDAPS. It's 4-2. Lycus have just steamrolled through the last 4 rounds. They only lost one of the opening gunfights. That was Emin taking down Defiance. The rest of it, that last gunfight, well, that first gunfight in the last round in Reading Room just did not go at all how Synthetic anticipated. They thought they had the 2 versus 1 pinch onto the Defiance on the Mozzie. All of a sudden, Psycho was there. He guns down Hazmat before they have a chance to commit onto Defiance, and it gets turned the other way entirely.
Yeah, it wasn't a 2v1. It was a baited out 2v2 where the Wombo combo went into the favor of Lycus Empire's defense. They put that attempted roam clear into the blender and made a nice smoothie out of the Synthetic attackers. Overall, just leaving, I believe it was Crafty, in a nearly unwinnable situation. Barely had any HP to his name, barely had any map control. He just kind of had to throw himself into sight and hope he could win the gunfights. However, he came up against Hourly at a kill scoreline of 6-3, looking quite good, and is looking to add some clips into his phase montage like it's 2010, and he's going for some MW2 trick shots.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of the Kali. Advocate for Kali picks, in all honesty. Kafe, there is some room for it to work. The upside down repels can, in fact, I believe very, very long ago when I was limited to just ANZ casts, I got to see a guy hot breach onto Cocktail Balcony with Kali, swung in, found 2 kills before he went down. So look, as much as, you know, she's this long range threat with the CSRX, she can still be aggressive and play that entry. Unfortunately, you know who? It's Braction. He gets gunned down by his Jaeger counterpart. Saltbad finds the opener in the second half.
Yeah, that is looking pretty strong for Synthetic's defense, as maybe they're just the demons of the 3rd floor. They know how to attack it, and right now they look to seem to know how to defend it. Lycus Empire, they don't have a whole lot of direction in their attack so far, but it only is a minute in, so all of the pieces have not fallen into place. Namely, trying to get piano control. There's some Melusi Banshees, there's some shields, as well as one allocated over towards the main cocktail double. Goyo being brought, those fiery Vulcan explosive shields that E-Man is going to be placing all around the map, is allowing Crafty to play the nice deep angle inside of Freezer. Makes it so difficult to push inside a piano, especially when you have somebody who is surgically precise with that SMG-11, able to take those long-range engagements that will leave you worse for wear, because the MAC-10, that SMG-11, shoots very fast and does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's you should no longer consider it a firearm. It's a tool for destruction here, being wielded by Crafty on Synthetic, and we've seen a couple of instances where the boys on Synthetic have played very, very well in their gunfights. Unfortunately, just some of them have not gone their way, but this play from below Fig might have been able to find the just a second too late. The player rotates off, and nothing found just yet. No nitro cell either, which could have been used to devastating effect here from below in mining. Saltbad and Fig playing from below, looking to affect that roam. Hazmat swings onto Psycho and takes down the Zofia, but Carl is there to answer back. Crafty and Hazmat going down to the AK. It's Saltbad and Fig panicking. Sorry, panicking a little bit. M in there as well at top white. They are largely locked out of the bomb site here. Swing into back stock. Not going to find much of anything, but they know that information is there. Emin put down, but not out. That consistent state of play here. But Saltbad with 2 onto Owly and Carl, and a 3rd and final, in fact, 4th kill in the round. Saltbad shuts it down, and shuts it down hard.
You know, Salt Bad needs to change his name to Salt Good, because that was just about the best round you could have out of your Jaeger, just flying up white stairs and killing everyone. It was an even man count 3-3, but it was like his other two teammates did not exist. One of them was on his butt, just kind of sitting, scurrying around, leaving a trail of red wherever he goes. But Saltbad didn't care. He still swung. He took those engagements with a 416C carbine and made the attackers of Lycus Empire regret even spawning into the map, much less putting themselves in close proximity to the site. A really, really, really good defense coming out of Synthetic as they're chipping away on the disadvantage of the scorecard that we've seen them fall down behind. Kafe, it is a defender-sided map, in all honesty, especially with how these bans have gone. No Maverick, no Thatcher. But on the flip side, Wamai, who's been a very integral part of what everybody knows as the utility dump meta, will not be being played. But
It's
still
not a
have some
swear
other
word,
ways.
CDAP, so you can say it on stream.
I don't even. It feels dirty every time I say it.
Well, I mean, look, having Thatcher banned out, it's not an impossible scenario. Hourly is back on the Kali, and like I said, I'm a big advocate of the Indian sniper. She can largely fulfill the same role. Using that explosive lance denies whatever is on the other side of the walls, even through electrification. It's a great tool. So if they can initiate that push, no thermite coming out, which is the smart play. You want ranged, hard breach. Gives you that little bit of extra security. Doesn't mean it means you can just go for the safer of the plays. Drones coming in for Lycus. Surely they see Hazmat sitting in Bakery at the moment. Real question is who's going to be the one to go for the frag. Yes, there is a player in service as well, so they're setting themselves up for a bit of a defensive play.
Oh.
Unfortunately, you cannot peek Psycho like that. He has the scope advantage. He has the long-range threat of the M762. And again, a situation where you lose your smoke that early on is never going to be good for you.
Yeah, and Hazmat's gonna answer back onto Call. That's the only hard breacher employed by the Lycus Empire attack. But now the Maestro has been silenced. That Sensei coming out with that R4C, the Ash getting a nice opening engagement early on in the round. Not necessarily an opening, but it's close enough as he's going to be bolo peeking, narrowly missing onto the player inside of Prep. But he might just follow a drone in as they're checking flanks. They see, oh no, there's two Germans there. What do we do? That's the MP7 and the 416C. You don't necessarily want to challenge, but you don't want to challenge the the AUG of the Kaid either. Refrag coming out into Defiance's name still keeps the man count advantage into the side of the Lycus Empire attack, as it's the Bandit and the Jaeger versus the world. Still has a shield inside of Prep. Can swing that with confidence, have a little bit of an extra buffer zone, as well as the information gathered from those bulletproof slits. But the rest of the Lycus Empire attack is all coming in through and funneling in. Salt being able to take out one, but it's the refrag. That's the name of the game, as Fig is also going to be able to take out Defiance. It's essentially a 1v1 situation, as it's Fig versus Psycho, Sophia versus Jaeger, Fragger versus Fragger, with still a minute left on the clock. Red pings raining true, confirming the location of the Jaeger, but can he land the shots? It's a tango, it's a dance of death, as it's just such a high octane try. Pre-fires to both sides. They're playing cover. Psycho goes down, trying to withstand, but Fig will end the journey with a bit of a teabag.
I mean, look, I will be perfectly honest, he earned that right in that gunfight, especially against someone like Psycho, who has just consistently been stepping up and fragging the way he has. Well, that's definitely a way to close it out, but I mean, Lycus, the way they approached that, they understood every real threat that they were facing. Emin got the flank off. I think there was maybe a bit of an over contest there from the Ash of Braction. He probably could have just gone prone, waited for Defiance to swing the window, and then pick up that kill, because that's exactly what they'd sent him to do. Now, Synthetic, they might be changing things up a little bit. I would imagine that Hazmat pick off this. As much as I am a fan of the Capcan, I don't see him come through often. Maestro, yeah, it's coming in. And unfortunately, like, they've committed so much onto this pick for Owly. The Kali has come out 3 rounds in a row now, and unfortunately, it really hasn't provided much of anything. I don't think we've seen a Lance come out. I don't think we've even seen it come out from the CSRX. So maybe, just maybe, is under trying to achieve, because as good as she is at long range, as good as she is at destroying that utility where a Thatcher isn't available, you need to be able to use it and do it effectively, which they just haven't been.
Yeah, The defense has looked so good, so sharp as they are hunting for this perfect site rotation. They've already won third floor on their first try. And if you remember back to Lycus's defensive half, it took them quite a bit. It took them 3 tries as opposed to 1, where now Reading Room, which is the tertiary bomb site, can be held in a very similar fashion to how you would be successful on the 3rd floor. So, I'm thinking Synthetic is starting to shape up and look very, very good. Their defenses, they've looked strong. They're cool, calm, and collected. They know exactly what Lycus Empire is going to be doing. They go up top, they top down roam clear, they funnel in through bakery, they go wherever they want, and every single thing that Lycus Empire has been throwing towards the Synthetic roster has been absorbed and thrown back with twice as much power.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of a case of underestimating their opponents, overcommitting. Big start to the round. The down already happening as we hit that 2-minute mark. Castle, not the biggest of losses, but it's still that extra gun. Oh, they're going for the pickup here. If Sensei Braction can read into that, no. Fortunately, so he will get up. They will be able to back that one off before too much is committed and they lose out on even more. Lance does go out, but there's only so much that you're going to find on the other side of that reinforced wall. No mute, no bandit, no breach denial whatsoever coming out. So largely all they're going to find is those ADSs. They're still trying to figure out how they want to attack this bomb site. They have an idea, but it's about making that idea a reality here. And really the question is, are they going to be able to translate that into a win and get that momentum back, stall out what Synthetic are doing, because they need to, at the very least here.
Yeah, the Lycus Empire attack has been sort of sluggish to say the least. There's only 1:10 to go, and they haven't even started their vertical destruction. That's Defiance's entire role, as it's still a 5v5 with 5 anchors on site that they're going to have to push in towards. They need to get this vertical destruction open yesterday. That's how, further back they needed to do. It's finally coming out as the hammer will open up the angles, but it's going to be absolute pandemonium coming in through sight as Saltbad gets down but not out. Psycho landing a beautiful shot to confirm his kill onto the Mozzie. E-Man, not long for this world, most likely. A single bullet or a sneeze in his direction will put him 6 feet under as well. So Lycus on that front is looking better. But if you look at the top of your screen, they only have 30 seconds left to go forward. Now Crafty getting picked off. That's what the vertical does. Defiance able to pick up the kill onto his SAS brother in the form of the defensive variety. However, I sort of every single thing I answered back is just getting thrown back in my face as Cal and Fig will trade out each other. It's still a 4v2 situation for Lycus Empire, but they only have 15 seconds to get into sight. They need to plant the bomb, but that's going to be going down as Cal will type out the longest password known to man. In the meantime, Sensei able to take out E-Man. It's all up to Hazmat in a 1v4 situation, and he can't even get a single kill as the SP SMG-9 attached to the hip of Hourly will just rip the head clean off. No more red beret, as it's red for another reason.
Yeah, head gone. Goodbye. It's all over in that situation. Just the way that they came into that round, they took dominant control. They got early damage dealt. From there, they just snowballed in, got vertical control, got the bomb site, got the bomb diffuser down, and from there just cleaned it up. Like, that was just decisive. That was aggressive. That was forward thinking. And well played out, Rainbow Six Siege. And we do see the final change coming in here. Hourly, he's not going to ring the Kali this time. He understands that maybe it's not the strongest of picks, so it's going to be a Nomad instead. That roam flank, the roam denial, the flank watch, so to speak, coming in. And it makes a lot of sense. There has been a pretty decisive deep roam coming out from Synthetic.
Yeah. For Lycus Empire's attack, what went wrong last time around was allowing Saltbad to walk up white and put on a shooting show with that insanely powerful rifle on the defensive side. It's not an SMG, it's a rifle, even though the SMGs are what most defenders have. And he definitely made Lycus Empire well aware of that fact. By bringing the Nomad this time around, there isn't necessarily a whole lot of anti-breach, None, in fact, onto the side of Synthetic. So a good read to not have to bring that Cali. Sure, it makes challenging those long angles all the way from Cigar to Cocktail a little bit more difficult, but there's still some zoom attached to the AK-74 that Hourly will be able to use to his full advantage. So not a giant loss on that side, but being able to cut off flanks and cut off rotations will allow Lycus to get into sight and keep the control that they've gotten just a little bit easier.
Sorry, yeah, no, just zoning out listening to you. It's all making sense. Exactly what needs to be done here, and it's just, you've got to wonder if Synthetic might have done their dash, because given how that last round went, that momentum still came out once again for Lycus. They've brought that momentum back. Going into this, they've made an adaptation, which makes a lot of sense and will make it that much harder for the flank to come into contest. Psycho, he's just baiting out the Banshees. I think he's trying to bait out. I think he knows full well Fig is ready and waiting down in Train Museum. I think this is Psycho understanding the situation he's in, trying to bait it out so he can get out, use that utility without receiving any damage, and that's just understanding how the game works. That's big brain plays coming out of Lycus.
Yeah, it's just mainly Banshee in a random spot that can kind of be nitroed equals most likely a nitro. As it misses, will be reclaimed due to some vertical destruction of the soft variety coming through to drop it back down on the floor. But in the meantime, Crafty got taken out, and that's your smoke, as Defiance is right and nearly about to sprint inside of Freezer. Opens up a nice angle over towards, now pinging exactly where the Nomad should go, taking out an ADS in the meantime. Utility meeting its end. But on the Lycus Empire side, they have the man advantage, and they seem to know the general ideas of where a lot of the players are. Mainly Hazmat, as he goes down to ability to be placed shot coming out of Psycho's M762. Now they have sight control. And there is still a Nitro Cell in the back pocket of both E-Man and Fig, but E-Man's not in a location to use it, as now he's 6 feet under of one shot coming out. Fig World answering back, but it's a flurry of trades going back and forth, and overall Salt Bad picking up a double kill as the entire kill feed runs blue instead of orange. But it's a 1v1 situation. Hourly versus Salt Bad. We've seen this battle once before, but Salt Bad barely has any HP. His only hope will be trying to get a headshot, but it's Hourly! What a shot! The wall bang. He sees the bullet tracer for just a moment. The micro flick right onto the helmet of the Jaeger. And that's a clip if I've ever seen it.
Good night, Salt Bad. You have been tucked in, read a bed, a good night story, given the kiss and a glass of warm milk. Yeah, bro, you're not waking up for an instant after that one. No recovery whatsoever. And that could be the tipping point here. 6-4 now going into match point. And my lord, that could not have gone any worse for Synthetic there. Salt Bad brought it back from the brink, down to a 1v1, had the positional advantage, had the bullet hole. Hourly shifts an inch to the right, the shot misses, gives away the goat, and Hourly hammers it home, shuts him down, secures map and series point here. And my god, what a shot it was.
I'm still mentally reeling from the fact of what I just witnessed. I'm trying to unpack what I just saw, and what I just saw was an absolute decimation to the morale of Synthetic, where they went from potentially tying up a round and getting a 5-5 to now staring down the barrel of the weapon that is Lycus Empire on map point, series point, trying to confirm the best overall outcome that they could. Synthetic 7-4 doesn't look too bad, but they're going to be trying to tie this up. They have Kitchen at least, which wasn't the worst sight in the world for them. They were able to properly break apart the sort of bakery push that we saw employed by Lycus Empire. They don't care about vertical control. They want to go horizontal. They want to get into sight, hit it fast and hard, take control, get a plant down. But if you remember just a couple of rounds ago, it was Psycho versus, I believe, Fig in one of the longest engagements I've seen in quite some time, with ultimately the Zofia getting put into the DBNO state, trying to withstand but couldn't get it done. However, Synthetic can't rely on 1v1s at the end of rounds because Lycus Empire wins it,
Ooh.
as well as Defiance seemed to have bought one of those Acme nades you talked about. It was on fire sale, and that's why when you buy a nade on clearance, it'll probably blow in your hand.
Yeah, I honestly could not say what it was that made that happen. It's one of those situations where until he puts it on Twitter, because I imagine there's going to be a clip, we will never know. And it is that man advantage. Not the worst operator, I suppose, to be losing. Actually, no, I take that back. It's kitchen. You want to be sending that sledge upstairs, open up the floor and reading and train and mining and make that vertical hold that much harder. But look at Sensei. He's wandered onto the back side of things, pushing VIP entrance. Carl on will take down Emin. I don't believe they have any idea that Sensei is pushing up the way that he is. If he can get that effective flank and push in from Whiskey, he could find some big damage. He has been tagged up. I can't say whether or not that is because they're aware of what's going on. But at the moment, Psycho, he just runs straight into a shotgun of Crafty. But Sensei on the backside, he's going to avenge his fallen teammates in this 2v3 situation. Selma goes out onto that highway wall. And now on the backside of things, it's Sensei to even things up. 2 versus 2, double kill for him in the round. AK-12 there for Carl as he's going for the plant, trying to bait. That smoke goes out. Crafty is in the front portion. Fig is going for that rotate around to Whiskey. Sensei is holding the angle. Will he be able to find... Toxic canister goes out, but it's going to cut Fig off! No! A huge misplay has cost them the contest! And Carl finds the final 2, shuts it down. That is a rough toxic canister to see to end out. If Synthetic fan... I mean, we talk about that mental breaking point, and it felt like that desperation throw from Carl on the smoke was exactly that point we saw Synthetic reaching.
That was just insanely well played by Lycus, who I guess are just they're an attacker-sided team. Their attacks looked so good. Welcome back to the booth, my man Keg. How are you doing, Mr. Cat?
I redid my whiskers and they look even worse on this camera. Oh no. I don't know what cat whiskers look like. Do I look like a cat to you? Well, maybe a little bit,
Look,
but
much like in the defense between Carl and Fig in that last round, an attempt was made. It wasn't a great attempt, but an attempt was made.
yeah, no, I mean, one thing that the analysts and I are going to be talking about, a little bit of a sneak peek beforehand, is that Hourly with that flick, that was amazing. That was a pro league level shot. And that's not something you see too often, and that blew me away. Sure, I mean, that blew me away. CDAPS, what was your favorite play?
I mean, nothing else comes to mind besides that. that
Yeah.
shot was disgusting.
That's how good it was.
I mean, the
Man.
fact that he was low enough that a shot anywhere would have killed him, but just straight to the top of the dome, just clean takes the head off. That is not something that you see every day.
That was fantastic to watch, and I'm curious to hear what the analysts have to say as well. We're going to be transitioning over to Pond and Smit real quick. Goodbye, CDAPS. Goodbye, Panda. Don't think we'll be seeing either of you again. I know there's a little bit back and forth in the back room, seeing who's going to come back, if any of them do, but you're both fired. Goodbye.
Goodbye,
All right,
everybody.
for telling Keg to suck it.
Yes, your pink slips will be in
Post
your office
Malone
after the
goes
cast.
posthumous. Goodbye, everyone.
All right, analysts, get in here. Hello, analysts. Welcome back. We already know what we got to talk about right off the rip. It's going to be round number 10. Hourly with that shot. I mean, it wasn't even, analytically the most important play of the game, but it was just so cool to look at. Smith, what was your opening thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, you say that it wasn't analytically, it was.
I'm not the analyst here.
No, you're right. But I'm saying like it was because it ended up bringing that round back from what could have been a synthetic win to a Lycus win, and then the next round they won. It just gave them the boost they needed to win out the next round, in my opinion. But it
Fair.
was such a pleasing shot to look at. I loved it. I was just like, oh, that was nasty in chat. Legit.
It was aesthetically pleasing. It's like one of those vaporwave backgrounds you could put. Pond, though. Pond, I'm sure you thought that play was interesting as well, but I'm curious to hear. We've harped on Hourly for his play for so long, but what were some of the other cool things that we saw that game?
I mean, honestly, that last round comes to mind with Cal and Sensei. We don't have that round lined up, but watching Cal go in and they realized they had absolutely no avenue to push from Bakery, but they saw a huge hole in the defense. nobody watching Small Bakery. No one holding over by Whiskey. No one even holding Red Stairs. So they were like, oh, looks like they're holding Prep super well. All right. Like Braxton and Cal are like, we're just gonna push Prep. We're not gonna push Bakery. We're not gonna push this side. They immediately came in, got the plant down, and the smoke smoked off Whiskey door, hurting his own teammate in the process, and then Cal just cleaned up, got the plant down, cleaned up shop, and it was. I think that kind of encapsulates how today's match went.
Yeah, I mean, overall, everything you just said, I'm not gonna repeat it all, but that was Lycus Empire in a nutshell. And Smith, you are losing your marbles over there. Let it out, let it out. Let's hear the full laugh. I don't know what he's laughing at. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Smith, come back to us. Smith, come back, Smith. Smith. Okay, Smith. Okay. What are you laughing at? Is it Lycus?
The smoke on round 11, just smoking off his teammate. It was so funny. It was so hilarious. I just
Oh man,
smoke
I
like that.
I saw the smoke get caught because he was trying to smoke off the default plant and it missed, and it was right at the time Jaeger was coming in. And if there's like a worse timing for something to happen in Siege, that is exactly it. I mean, when we were watching the game, I was struggling to keep it together, and that's nothing to say against Synthetic. Synthetic did play very well. I did like some of their attacking rounds coming in, but it was definitely kind of a tough match today. I mean, Lycus Empire, very strong, put together team, and that round. Oh wait, no, we're gonna see it here. We're gonna see it here. But watching that happen, I felt like if I had to pick out a play that talks about how this map went, I mean, Synthetic has had so many times where they've been set up. They have Lycus focusing so heavily on something, but the problem is it's like you see here, it's just Cal and Braxton left. It's a 3v2, and Cal decides to make the rotate over, pushes in main corridor now, pushes right over into service, and can get the plant down. There's nobody watching this. They were so heavily focused on pushing over there that or they were so heavily pushing Prep that they completely disregarded service, and the smoke came in and Cal cleaning up shot. Just that was the play of the game. I mean, I know that flick from Hourly was something special. I mean,
It was.
I was watching that and I was like, you already know that Hourly has that clip lined up to go on a YouTube video. I mean,
Oh,
honestly,
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me he's Braxton through that in one of his highlight videos. Like that's just what we expect. But I think that play coming in from Cal and that play coming in from Braxton right there really just encapsulated why Lycus is as talented as they are. They saw a different avenue. They didn't force a push. They used their intel and made that adjustment based off it. And I'm really hyper focusing on this round, but I think that really speaks to their play style. It speaks to the way they've done it, and it was just a great freaking round.
Can I just say something real quick?
By all means, please.
Okay, so I just want to say, like, laughs aside, Synthetic struggled. Like they were winning somehow. I don't know how. Maybe it was just Lycus giving them the win. Maybe they actually wanted themselves. But Synthetic struggled constantly with their operators of who was alive and who was left. Constantly, 3 rounds out of this 11 round 11 matches. Maestro and Smoke were off the board way too early than they should have. For way too early before the execution. And it 2 of those rounds actually, Synthetic won. And I was just struggling, yelling at chat, seeing that happen. Lycus, I'm gonna dare I say, throwing those rounds. It hurt my heart. It hurt my heart, and it was just too many times. I think Synthetic has to work on which role they have to play. Their smoke, their important operators are just gone off the board, and it hurts. It hurts. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, there were a lot of rough times we saw from Synthetic side, but Pond, overall, I'm just curious what you have to say What does Synthetic need to work on before they come back into SCS again? We've seen them not win a single map so far, I believe. So I'm curious to know, what's the major flaw and how can they fix it?
I mean, no disrespect to Synthetic. I mean, I like the guys. I mean, I've been watching them since season 3. I love Fig, love Crafty, I love Salt. I mean, we got to see Salt play in a Bolo video. Like, dude's kind of goated, but the problem is disjointed attacks. They're definitely miscalling. They're definitely not having they're so static in the way that they're defending. Like we saw in that round 11, that is how they defend. They hold a certain area, they hold certain angles, and I think they really need to work on as a team who's covering what. I mean, I gotta say they did pick up Amen. They did just pick up Hazmat, and they're both filling 2 pretty big roles. One is being your primary hard breach and anchor, the other one playing that more flex role. It does make it a little bit challenging to have that communication, but they have to communicate who's covering what. They have to play a lot smarter on what angles holding what, and they have to get smarter in their gunfights. They are genuinely careless with their lives. We saw it in this map, same as the last one, that the smoke was dying early, the Maestro was dying early. They allowed I don't have the statistic up, but I'd say there was a good half of those attacking rounds that Lycus was able to get a plant down. They were getting set up into a post-plant situation. You're losing your smoke early. You're losing your Maestro early. You have no plant denial. You aren't getting set up to actually retake a post-plant situation. You're allowing them to gain that space. You don't have a solid roam game at all. I mean, you aren't delaying them on roam. You're allowing them to get complete map control. I mean, their attacks on Coastline. We just saw Lycus Empire just gaining entire second floor control, or if they were attacking second floor, they were gaining all the adjacent control within a minute with no C4s from below, no real threat other than the players playing near site, and even then they weren't set up in the best position. So I think that Synthetic does have a lot to work on, and I think that they really do need to go through the VODs of today's games. They really do need to sit down because they have yet to win a map, and I don't want to sit here and rag on the team. I really don't. But the showing that they had up today was it wasn't great, and I apologize to Synthetic if it seems like I'm coming off a bit harsh, but that's what I gotta say.
What's up, Smith?
I mean, is it okay if I just answer the question you gave up on?
By all means, please, let's hear it.
Okay, I just want to say they need to. I'm gonna put it bluntly, and I'm sorry for putting it bluntly, but they need to reevaluate everything they're doing. Like I had mentioned earlier, like their important operators were getting fragged out way too early, and like in their attacking Sledge Edmund. The only way I could put it is that he was faking the role of being the person that's supposed to be holding those vertical angles. He was sledging those from a vertical floor, and he was peeking them right after. When in reality, you don't want to do that because you don't want to be risk the chance of being picked off way too early. So you want to be able to just get the vertical pressure you need. Then, if you want to, by all means, peek those holes. But you want to make sure you give your whole team the advantage as possible. Don't feed into your KD. Feed the wins, because that's what matters.
Fair enough. Yeah, thank you very much, our top analyst doctors, for giving us not only the diagnosis, but the prognosis as well. But analysts, you guys have been amazing, but we're going to go back to the symptoms of causing all of this pain and destruction. We're going to be heading back to the main casters for the next set that comes on through. Pond, Smith, you two have been amazing, and we'll be seeing you guys at the end of the next map.